Tonight's meeting of the Metropolitan and Davidson County Council is coming to you live from the Davidson Room of the Music City Center and is a public affairs presentation of the Metro Nashville Network. Good evening, everyone. I am Pat Nolan, your announcer for this program. Tonight, the 15th Metropolitan Council holds its 26th business meeting of a four-year term. It has conducted 19 business meetings during 2020 prior to tonight, along with one adjourned meeting. For the second time since April 6th, the Council will conduct its business in person. This comes after operating virtually for 15 straight meetings under emergency rules due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. All 40 members of the Council are expected to be here, along with Vice Mayor Jim Schulman, along with staff members and members of the public. Hopefully, unlike the last meeting when 5 members either were recovering, or in quarantine due to the virus, that won't be an issue tonight. As it was 2 weeks ago, tonight's meeting is in the location. It's located in the Davidson Room of the Music City Center. It is large enough to accommodate a large crowd of 500 persons if necessary, and still maintain social distancing required by city health orders. Those orders include everyone wearing a mask since we are in a metro building. The council agenda tonight is 35 pages long with a total of 94 items up for consideration. That includes 13 appointments and reappointments of local citizens to metro boards and commissions, along with 4 resolutions on public hearing, 28 regular resolutions, 11 first reading bills, 17 bills on second reading, and 21 ordinances on third and final reading. Once again, there will be debate tonight over the Metro Charter amendments. Remember, it takes a 2/3 vote or 27 yes votes for the council to put any amendment on the ballot. There's already a court battle set in Chancery Court next week over a proposed referendum by a citizens group to repeal the 34% property tax increase approved by the council this summer. The petition campaign also seeks to change the Metro Charter to greatly restrict size and frequency of future property tax increases, as well as limit the council's power to sell city property, enter into leases, or approve bond issues without approval of another public referendum. While there's enough signatures to call a special election in December, the Metro Election Commission is unsure about the language and the legality of the petition, so election officials are asking the courts to help them in seeking a declaratory judgment that will bring all parties to the court next week. Tonight, the council will again consider 3 other charter members offered by at-large member Steve Glover. One would limit future property tax hikes to no more than 12% in a 2-year period. A second would limit any mayoral emergency or health orders to 30 days in length unless extended by a 3/4 affirmative vote of the council that have to be renewed every 14 days. Third amendment would allow the council to offer voters annual changes to the charter instead of only twice each 4-year council term. Several council members believe the amendments by Glover are unwise, and like the petition drive, the charter changes are illegal under local and state law. Mayor Cooper and a number of city and business leaders agree. Council members already approved their own charter amendment that would go on the ballot that would negate the proposed charter changes and keep the status quo in place, thus giving voters a choice of charter amendments at the polls if the special election is held in December. The Glover amendments have been disapproved by the city's Charter Revision Commission and by the council's Charter Committee. There appears to be, therefore, little chance the amendments will pass tonight. Tonight, the council will also propose a resolution and likely pass a resolution of its own, formally expresses opposition to the petition charter changes. With 34 co-sponsors on that resolution, it likely will pass easily. There's again legislation on the council before the council tonight related to the coronavirus pandemic. 2 resolutions, RS 2020-527 and 576, have been deferred previously by the council. Bills request to seek appropriating about $2.5 million of the city's remaining CARE Act funds to organizations thus far not recommended by the city's CARES Act Advisory Committee. We'll see what the council wants to do with that tonight. Other pandemic resolutions for the council include RS 2020-592. We accept over $900,000 from the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency. The funds would be used by the Metro Action Commission to address rent and mortgage assistance for up to 3 months for eligible families. Another resolution would accept $250,000 from Tennessee Department of Agriculture for the Nashville Farmers Market to respond to COVID-19 business disruption and help with supply chain improvement initiatives underway due to the pandemic. The final resolution requests the Metro Board of Education to reopen all schools immediately following the school system's fall break. Fall break has already ended last week. Metro schools are gradually reopening on a grade-by-grade basis, with high schools not going back into person until January. The plan for that reason has also come under some community opposition. One other pandemic-related bill is on second reading is BL 2020-455. It's an ordinance that would create a new type of curbside delivery. More specifically, the curbside sale of beer would be allowed. Right now it's allowed under the emergency orders, but not allowed under the regular law. This would make it available under the regular law because it's been quite popular and quite helpful to a lot of the businesses who otherwise have been a little bit limited in what they can do in terms of their sales. Another bill on second reading is BL 2020-454 tonight. It would prohibit all bullying at all Metro government services, activities, programs, and facilities. A couple of other bills would also regulate landlords' notices to tenants. Council had already passed a bill requiring notice to tenants prior to the sale of a leased property. A new ordinance, BL 2022-24 would create a new requirement of landlords to provide a minimum of 30 days written notice to tenants prior to listing the property. Landlord will also be required to notify tenants within 5 days of a pending sale agreement or a closing date and anticipated date by which a tenant would need to vacate. Another bill on the agenda tonight, BL 2024-56, will require notice to tenants prior to the termination of tenancy and a non-renewal of a lease. Another property-related bill, BL 2024-59, requires notice from Metro Codes officials within 2 business days of district councilmen regarding applications for permits to demolish historic structures within their district. 2 other bills, one's on third reading, one's on second reading, would name portions of downtown streets in honor of the city's 2 icons from the 1960s and 70s civil rights movement. One is from the late Reverend Kelly Miller Smith, the other for the late Atlanta Congressman John Lewis. Finally, on second reading, despite the city's hiring freeze, BL 2024-61 would create new positions for the Chief Equity Division and Inclusion Officer and a Workforce Diversity Manager for Metro. The jobs are funded in the current city operating budget, but not covered by the hiring freeze. If you want to follow tonight's council meeting while it progresses, you can find the agenda online as well as the council staff analysis with the explanations for the legislation. Just go to the Metro Council portion of the Nashville.gov website, then go to the Legislative Information Center. We'll also be placing the bill numbers on the screen when they come up for consideration tonight so you can follow along and keep up with where we are on the agenda. Let's now go to Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. He'll be shortly gaveling tonight's meeting to order.
Will the meeting please come to order? We welcome you to the Metro Council. Today is Tuesday, October 20th, 2020. So we are tonight again in the Music City Center. Thank you again to the staff of the Music City Center, the Metro IT Department, our clerk's office, and the council staff for getting this all set up for us. Will all members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this evening will be offered by Pastor Aaron Marble of the Jefferson Street Missionary Baptist Church, a guest of Councilmember Brandon Taylor.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this day, for it is the day that you've made, and we choose to rejoice and be glad in it. We thank you for the abundant blessings that you have bestowed on us and our city. And we don't take for granted the liberties and the freedoms that are ultimately given by you. Tonight I ask for a special blessing over our mayor, our vice mayor, and the 40 council members who serve as the watchwomen and watchmen of our beloved city. I pray tonight that you would bless their feet, that they'll walk humbly with God our Creator. Bless their knees, that they will bow in deference to our Creator and the image of the Creator that is endowed in each of us. Bless their hands, that they will stretch out to serve and not to be served. Bless their hearts, that they will love not just donors, but every citizen of our city. Bless their eyes, that they will see with vision to move us forward. Bless their ears, that they will hear the cries of our children, our elders, the poor, and those that are often unheard. Bless their minds to think innovatively and strategically, that our city is governed by wisdom and by love. I pray tonight for the peace of our city. Not cheap peace, not gilded peace, not peace that is absent of conflict, but peace that creates an environment where all of our citizens can flourish, regardless of their race, color, creed, religion, gender, class, caste, or any other social markers of this world. We ask this and all other blessings. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. You all may be seated. So without objection, we will suspend the calling and the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present throughout the meeting Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of the meeting from October the 6th? There is, properly seconded. Without objection, minutes of the meeting will stand approved as written. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor, Vice Mayor.
And speaking of the mayor, he is all the way back in the right side of the ballroom. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. All right, before we get into our regular agenda, we have a proposed rule change before this body. That rule change is brought by Councilmember Henderson and was distributed to council members at the last meeting. Councilmember Henderson, you are recognized for the discussion on the rule change. If you will just come to a microphone. Now,
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Colleagues, I'm proposing this rule change for a substitute bill that is brought by the original sponsor. When one has a large or complex piece of legislation with a lot of co-sponsors, that's a great thing. But as we substitute the bill to update it or include some stakeholder adjustments or amendments, sometimes it becomes complicated to get through the process of inviting all those co-sponsors to sign back on, make sure the original order is retained. And so this rule contemplates that if the original lead sponsor is bringing a substitute, that by default the co-sponsors would be signed back on in the original order. And so it's kind of an opt-out if you do not want to participate in the substitute. And again, that would be friendly substitute led by the sponsor, not a substitute from another colleague. Thank you.
So, Councilmember Henderson, I'm going to need probably a Rules Committee report. I believe it was taken care of in the Rules Committee.
Committee report, please.
There you go. Rules Committee, Councilmember Johnston.
Thank you. Rules, elections, and confirmations voted in favor, 8-0.
And Councilmember Henderson, back to you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would move approval.
All right, so I've got a motion to approve a rule change brought by Councilmember Henderson. I hear a second. Is there discussion on the rules change? Seeing none, we are ready to vote. It requires 27 votes, but I think we'll try by voice vote. All those in favor of the rule change proposed by Councilmember Henderson indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is adopted. Thank you, Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
So there's also a proposed rule change in your amendment packet brought by Councilmember Rutherford that will be discussed at the next meeting. Couple of announcements. So between this meeting and our next meeting, we will have an election in this country. I would encourage everyone in this room and everyone watching to remember to go vote. Early voting locations are open until October the 29th. Election day is Tuesday, November the 3rd. I encourage everyone to go and vote. As of yesterday, if you look at the Election Commission website, 76,061 people had voted early. There are 13 early voting sites. Go to the Election Commission website at www.nashville.gov/election-commission to get details about where you can vote, or call them at 615-862-8800. That's 615-862-8800. It's important for everyone to go vote. Remember that our next council meeting, because we have an election on Tuesday, November the 3rd, will be on Thursday, November 5th, here in this room. As you may remember, I had announced 6 special committees at the last council meeting. Tonight, I'm going to announce the council members for those committees. Again, if citizens are interested, please continue to let me know. I'm getting a very good response from citizens across the city who want to be a part of this. I'll be announcing citizen participation at the next meeting. I've got a lot of folks that I'm trying to go through to figure out how to get them on these committees. Unlike last year, not all council members are being named to one of these special committees. If you all, as council members, are still interested in being on one of them, please let me know. Also, please remember that with the exception of the first item, these committees were brought by citizens of Nashville and Davidson County. So I will send this out in writing, but here is the committee reviewing council benefits. The 6 council members I put on there are council members Hancock, Sledge, Bradford, Evans, Toombs, and Withers. Hancock, Sledge, Bradford, Evans, Toombs, and Withers. There's a committee on civil conversations. Got council members Syracuse and Pulley on that committee. There is a third committee, the committee reviewing public safety in Nashville. There were a number of people who asked to be on it. They were all on the public safety committee, so I'm giving it to Chairman Gamble and her committee on public safety. Committee dealing with strategic planning for metro departments, council members Benedict, Hauser, and Druffel. Committee dealing with the development of a network of early education centers in child care deserts. A lot of interest in that one. I've got council members Cash and Allen on that. And the last one, the committee utilizing current data on individuals coming through the prison system to determine future funding. I checked. That one I'm going to do. So I will be looking at that committee. Again, please let me know if you are interested in serving on any of those, and we'll be announcing citizen participation at the next meeting. So we are now ready to proceed to elections and confirmations. But the first item of business, before I get to Chairman Johnston, who's back at that podium, is to take nominations to fill the 2 vacancies on the Health and Educational Facilities Board. This vacancy is the result of the expiration of the terms of Mr. Richard L. Brown and Mr. Robert Perry on September 30th, 2020. Each individual selected will serve a 6-year term, which will expire on September 30th, 2026. Procedure for filling in this vacancy is set forth in Council Rule number 50. So we will be taking nominations tonight. Nominees must complete a questionnaire and submit it to the clerk no later than noon on Thursday, October the 29th, 2020. Any nominee who fails to submit a questionnaire to the clerk by this deadline shall be deemed to have withdrawn his or her name from nomination. Nominees will be notified to meet with the Council's Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee on Thursday, November 5th, 2020. An election to fill that seat will be conducted at the Council meeting on that evening. Any nominee who fails to appear before the Rules Committee on November the 5th shall be deemed to have withdrawn his or her name from nomination. So I am now going to open it up to take nominations for those 2 vacant seats. If you will, hit your button. And I see people at different microphones, so I'll just have to find you. So I've got Councilmember Bradford. You are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to renominate again Ms. Kenitha Carr.
Okay, Ms. Kenitha Carr. Okay, thank you, Councilmember Bradford. Okay, I'm looking around to try to find people. I got Councilmember Taylor. You're at podium 6. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to nominate Ms. Malika Klink-Scales.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Bradford. Okay, I've got Councilmember Pulley back at podium number 3. Councilmember Pulley, you reckon?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I would like to nominate Mr. Robert Perry, who currently is completing his first term and serving as the vice chair of the committee.
Thank you, Councilmember Pulley. I think I called Councilmember Bradford, Councilmember Taylor, Councilmember Bradford. All right. Any other nominations? Councilmember Johnston, a nomination? Okay. Any other nominations? Checking the board. I'm checking the podiums. Don't see anybody else. All right, we'll close the nominations. We've got 3 nominees for the 2 vacancies on the Health and Educational Facilities Board. Okay, thank you. All right, we now move to the remaining matters on elections and confirmations. Councilmember Johnston, report from the Rules Committee. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We considered a number of appointments and reappointments. We did have a list on consent that I will read. The Action Commission had an appointment of Ms. Fatima Ali for a term expiring February the 2nd, 2023. The Agriculture Extension Board had several. An appointment of Ms. Gigi Drumright for a term expiring August 1st, 2023. Reappointment of Ms. Sylvia Gainier for a term expiring August 1st, 2023. An appointment of Mr. Philip Krajik for a term expiring August 1, 2023. Reappointment of Dr. Thelma Sanders Hunter for a term expiring August 1, 2023. Reappointment of Ms. Sherry Smith for a term expiring August 1, 2023. The Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission had a reappointment of Ms. Gina Emanuel for a term expiring September 17, 2025. Tourism and Convention Commission had a reappointment of Mr. Shannon Sanders for a term expiring June 30th, 2023. The Transportation Licensing Commission had a reappointment of Ms. Jessica Powell for a term expiring October 10th, 2022, as well as Ms. Mona Lisa Warren for a term expiring October 10th, 2022, and I would move approval for that list of consent appointments.
All right, so you've heard the motion for the nomination or the appointment, the reappointment of those individuals. Got a motion from Chairman Johnston. I got a proper second. Any discussion on any of those appointments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion is adopted. All right, do we need to go back to any of these other individuals?
Yes, just two. We voted 8 in favor, 0 against for a one-meeting deferral for a reappointment of Mr. Mark Kursky for a term expiring August 1, 2023. I'd move that one-meeting deferral.
Okay, you've heard the motion, properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion for a one-meeting deferral say aye. Opposed, no. Motion is adopted. One-meeting deferral. All right. Councilmember Johnston?
The reappointment of Ms. Sue Palmer for a term expiring October 10th, 2022 was withdrawn, and that was approved 8 in favor, 0 against. I move that withdrawal. If that's, I'm not sure if I have to do that or not.
I think it's okay just to withdraw.
Perfect.
The appointment's withdrawn. So I believe is that it?
That is it.
That's a very good report. So let me make sure I've got this right. So we have the appointment of Ms. Fatima Ali for the Action Commission, Ms. Gigi Drumright for the Agriculture Extension Board, Sylvia Gainier for the Agriculture Extension Board, Mr. Philip Krajak for Agriculture Extension Board, Dr. Thelma Sanders Hunter for reappointment to the Agriculture Extension Board, Ms. Sherry Smith, Agriculture Extension Board, Ms. Gina Emanuel for the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission, Mr. Shannon Sanders for Tourism and Convention. I've got Ms. Jessica Powell for Transportation Licensing Commission and Ms. Mona Lisa Warren for Transportation Licensing Commission. Those are the people that we approved tonight. On behalf of the entire Metro Council, we want to thank you. I don't know if you're here, if you would all stand up so we can recognize you. Thank you all for being willing to serve. All right, so if you're following on our agenda, on page 3, we have a public comment period. This is time dedicated to allow members of the public who have registered in advance to speak on matters related to the Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County community. That was suspended during the period of the COVID-19. We are starting that back up. We had no one sign up to speak, but I'm just making sure in the crowd. Did anybody come tonight for that purpose? I see no one. So that will come back at the, it always shows up at the second meeting of the month. And I just wanted to make sure that there was no one here for that. So that is allowed again. So please recognize that. And if you are interested, if you're listening tonight and you want to speak on a subject, there is a form to use. Please call the council office or go to the website for the council and you can sign up. All right, we are now ready for resolutions on public hearing. So the way that works for anybody who is here on that is I will call up the resolutions one at a time, then refer to the resolution sponsor. Unless the sponsor moves to defer the public hearing, the sponsor will call for a public hearing. I will then ask for a show of hands for those who are here in favor of the resolution, then a show of hands for those who are here in opposition to the resolution. If anyone in favor of the resolution wishes to speak on the bill or on the resolution, I ask you to come forward, find the microphone, introduce yourself, and give us your address, and then you have 2 minutes in which to speak. Then ask if anyone opposed wishes to speak, and we'll do the exact same thing. After the process, I will close the public hearing and refer back to the sponsor. So we are ready for the first resolution. It is on page 4 of your calendar. It is by Councilmember Sledge. It's RS 2020-520. It's item number 14 on your calendar. Resolution exempting DAD CBS LLC doing business as Good Time Charlie's, located at 1529 4th Avenue South, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to Section 7.08.090E of the Metropolitan Code. Councilmember Sledge, you are recognized. Wait a minute. You're at, now try.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
All right, that one went to Public Safety. There she is, Councilmember Gamble. I'm trying to remember where all these mics are. You're recognized.
Thank you. Public Safety, Beer and Regulated Beverages Committee disapproved this bill 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Councilmember Sledge.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. I need a show of hands of those who are here in support of this measure. Okay. Now I'd like to have a show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Okay, those in favor wish to speak. If you would, please come to that podium. And if you would, I need your name, address, and you've got 2 minutes in which to speak.
My name is Samuel Blanton from the firm Tune Intricate & White at 315 Dederick Street, Nashville, Tennessee. I'm an attorney representing DAD CB LLC doing business as Good Time Charlie's. I just would like to start my time by genuinely thanking Councilman Sledge for sponsoring this bill and his sponsorship. I've sent many messages to him over the year, really over the last few months, expressing a willingness to work with him to make Good Time Charlie's a great establishment in Wedgwood, Houston. I haven't had a chance to actually speak with Councilmember Sledge about this. And he's not expressed any reservations in his emails to me, but nonetheless, I know he's busy making Wedgwood, Houston a great community, and I just want to thank him for his sponsorship. Now, this resolution is seeking an exception to the distance permit, an exception to the beer board rule on distance. Now, Good Time Charlie's is located on 4th Avenue South. It's at a location that has been a beer-selling bar since 1988. It has sold beer at that location for almost 30 years. And it wasn't until there was an ownership change in 2019 where ownership lapsed and the grandfather clause lapsed, requiring my client to have to get a new permit. And that's why we started this process. My client has a permit to sell liquor by the drink. He can sell Jack Daniels, but he can't sell Bud Light. So we're here for Bud Light. He can already sell liquor. That's a Good Time, but it's not quite Good Time Charlie's. So my client, I'm really proud. One thing that I'm really proud of in representing my client is that even despite this pandemic, when he wanted to have his grand opening in the summer, he's paid his employees. A restaurant service business that has paid every employee, hasn't let anyone go, and he just last week took somebody off unemployment.
Sir, I believe that that ringing is the 2 minutes. Is that what that is? So your time is up.
Thank you, Vice
Mayor. I appreciate it. Okay, next individual, name, address, and you've got 2 minutes. And we're going to clean the podium, and that horrible noise that's over there, that's your 2-minute warning. Okay. Or actually, that's not even a 2-minute warning. That's it. Your warning is up. You're through. All right, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Name, address, and you've got 2 minutes.
Sean Clem, 919 South 14th Street, Nashville, Tennessee. Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council. I'm the owner of Dad's TV, Good Time Charlie's. To begin, I'd like to address Mr. Sledge directly because we haven't had an opportunity to speak yet, and I wrote him a letter on September 9th that really expresses my appreciation, thanks, and gratitude for all the support he's given in giving us this resolution. September 9th. I'm writing this letter to you in advance of the September 15th City Council meeting, where the council will consider Good Time Charlie's application for a distance exception from the beer board's 100-foot rule. To give you some important perspective into my venture, and to also be available to answer any questions you have prior to the council's consideration. To begin, I'd like to thank you for sponsoring the resolution that I need to bring my building into compliance with the beer board's 100-foot rule. Your willingness to work with us on this matter not only benefits me, but also my 9 employees, 5 of whom live in your district, and all of whom are eager to contribute to my goal of making Good Time Charlie's a vibrant and welcome part of the Wedgwood Houston neighborhood. I've continued to pay all of my employees throughout this pandemic. Simply put, if I cannot obtain a beer permit, these 9 people will lose their jobs. I now have well over a year of my life wrapped up in this building and the business it houses. I borrowed against my home to make the down payment, complete the build-out, and redecorate the interior. My life is totally invested in this business. The location that the business is in has always operated as a beer-selling bar, which is why I bought the building and made the investment that I've made. Now, to step away from that letter, I have affidavits in support of our business from the residents whose property would be affected, none of whom have an objection. I just wanted to include that there. Now, back to the letter. I very much would appreciate the opportunity, Councilman Sledge, in advance of the resolution being presented to council, to personally address any concern you may have with my operation. Yes.
Sir, I believe that was the 2 minutes. It goes pretty quick. I know.
It does indeed.
I know. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much,
Right,
sir.
thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak on this matter? Okay, those were the people in favor. Anybody show up that was in I never saw any hands opposed. All right. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Sledge, let me come back to you. All right, you're recognized. No, wait a minute, wrong one. Okay, you're recognized now.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would move for approval and ask all members to vote no, and I will give the reasons why.
All right, so the motion is to approve. Got a proper second. Back to you, Councilmember Sledge.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I was contacted by the attorney for this, for an attorney at this firm on this land several months ago, and I strongly discouraged the attorney from taking this on. My reasons are myriad, and I will try to run through them as quickly as possible. You have an email from Mr. Thomas Snow, who's from the Tennessee Prison Outreach Ministry, who in the time that has been discussed, the TPOM has brought 2 transitional houses as well as a job preparation and relocation center to the other end of the street. Mallory Street's a very short street. Their men's residential area has been open for a couple of years now, and they are finishing construction on their women's residence. These will end up housing about 40 people who are making the transition from incarceration, and I'm extremely proud of how the neighborhood has supported these houses throughout their construction and throughout their operation, and I'm extremely proud of how TPOM has handled their business. They have been a great addition to the neighborhood. However, many of those residents come out of incarceration struggling with addiction of some kind. And to place this bar, and I will get to this bar in a minute, at the other end of the street is creating a hurdle that I feel like is completely unnecessary and quite frankly immoral in my position here. Now, for the property itself, you have an email that shows a decoration of this property with signs that you might recognize because they are all state and metro road signs, including a stop sign and street sign taken from a 3-way stop in the neighborhood that has a blind spot due to construction that I had to ask the Director of Public Works to go out and obtain because it had been obtained most certainly inappropriately and almost certainly illegally. There are street signs that come from all over this county. There are blast notice signs creating a public safety hazard. And at the end of that email, you will see that there is a sign advertising the opening of this bar this week, which is completely inappropriate. The minute that public property started getting stolen and placed on this property was when I stopped having a mode of communication with the attorneys for this property. And to threaten me that my constituents will lose their jobs if I don't approve this is nothing short of blackmail, and no council member should put up with it. With that, I renew my motion for approval and ask for every member to vote no.
All right, so Councilmember Sledge has moved approval of the bill. It was properly seconded. Discussion on the bill. Discussion on the resolution. Well, I hear somebody out there saying something. But there is no one actually in the queue. So we'll just proceed ahead to go to a vote. Okay. All right, so we will be on the machine. Madam Clerk, I'm going to turn on your microphone. All right. So we are voting on Resolution RS 2020-520. Madam Clerk, you ready?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Okay. So if you're for it, obviously you vote yes. If you're against it, you vote no. Madam Clerk, if you would, open up the machines. Everybody vote? Everybody voted? All right. Madam Clerk?
The vote's been recorded, Vice Mayor, and I'm just checking the rest of the votes. We had one member not voting, and I believe that was intentional, so all votes have been recorded, Vice Mayor.
Okay. Madam Clerk, if you would, close machine, take the vote.
There were 0 votes in favor, 34 against.
0 to 34, so the resolution fails. All right. We're now ready for the next resolution. It's RS 2020-583, the resolution exempting Blue Crab Shack LLC located at 620 Gallatin Pike North from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to Section 7.08.09E of the Metropolitan Code. Councilmember Hancock, you are recognized at podium number 5. There you go.
Committee reports, please.
All right. Public Safety, Councilmember Gamble, coming up to podium number 4.
Yes, committee voted in favor, 6-0.
All right. Back to you, Councilmember Hancock. You're recognized.
I'd like to open up the public hearing.
Okay. Declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. I see 2 hands over there. Okay. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Councilmember Hancock, do you see anything? Do you see anybody with hands up?
I do not.
All right. Those in favor wish to speak? Okay. If you would, please come up to the microphone. I need your name, address, and you'll have 2 minutes in which to speak.
Good evening. My name is Brian Frederick, 620 Gallatin Pike North, Madison, Tennessee. Thank you so much for this time. Thank you, Councilwoman. Is it, tell me your name, I'm sorry. Hancock, yes. Thank you, Ms. Hancock, for your help in speaking with you. I remember about a month ago. Thank you for calling me. I'm just a regular Joe. I'm a U.S. veteran who just opened up a live Blue Crab Shack here in Madison area that really needed it, and we've been doing very well. And just thank you for the opportunity for us to be here and you accepting us just to serve a little beer. We're really a family-owned restaurant. We're not even really looking to serve any type of alcohol, but people have requested for beer with their crabs. So that's about it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? All right, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Hancock, let me come back to you. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And thank you, Brian, for coming today and for bringing this fantastic business to Madison. My husband is a native of Baltimore, Maryland, so he has taught me the importance of beer with your crabs. And I understand that those requests are things you want to fill. And I appreciate your allegiance to a local brewer we have in Madison, so that's fantastic. I think that this is a kind of no-brainer. I've heard nothing but support from my constituents, and I urge you all to vote yes on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Hancock. Councilor Hancock is moving to pass this resolution, properly seconded. Any discussion on the resolution? Checking, seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the resolution say aye. Opposed, no. Resolution passes. Thank you, Councilmember Hancock. We're on item number 16, RS 2020-584, by Councilmember Toombs. This is a resolution exempting Legan's House of Seafood, Nashville, located at 5228 Ashland City Highway, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to Section 7.08.090E. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee report.
All right, Councilmember Gamble, you're recognized.
Committee votes in favor, 6-0.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Gamble. Back to you, Councilmember Toombs.
Thank you. Request to open a public hearing.
All right, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of the resolution. See a hand in the back. Okay. Those here in opposition to this resolution. Seeing none, those in favor wish to speak? All right, come on up to the podium. Name, address, and you got 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Jordan Smith from 4228 Ashland City Highway, trying to get a beer permit for Legan's House Seafood. I started this business out of the backyard of my mother's house, maybe about like 4 or 5 years ago. I got one in Bowling Green, I have one in Goodlettsville, and I have one in Nashville now. I'm 29 years old. I've been achieving my goals for about 5 years. And I'm looking to get a beer permit to, better my situation and better my business. I tend to hire people who come from the same situation as me. So I'm in the community helping. I have this thing every Sunday where I give away free food. And a lot of people in the area, they ask for a beer with their crabs. I also sell seafood. Again, I started this at my mother's house, and I'm just looking to further my business and give people who come from the same background as me a little bit of opportunity and a little bit of hope and show them that they can do the same thing I'm doing and further better their life.
All right, thank you for being here. Anybody else wish to speak? I wonder if they serve blue crabs at this place too. It's another House of Seafood. All right, anybody else wishing to speak? Seeing none, declare the public hearing closed. Back to you, Councilmember Toombs. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I am going to move to defer this to the second meeting in November, and I have a brief explanation.
All right, so the motion is deferred to the second meeting in November. Properly seconded. Back to you for discussion.
So I have received several calls from neighbors in the area who are opposed to the waiver request, and I want to do a little bit more community outreach. I support what Mr. Smith is trying to do, but I do, anything that I move forward with, I want to have the community support to back it up. So I want to do a little bit more outreach for this issue.
All right, so the motion is to defer to the second meeting in November, again properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we're voting on the motion to defer to the second meeting in November. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion is approved. This resolution will be deferred to the second meeting in November. Thank you, Councilmember Toombs. We're on item number 17, RS 2020-585, by Councilmember Lee. This is a resolution exempting Pork Belly Tipsy Pig, located at 2000A Oak Trail Drive, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit pursuant to Section 7.08.090E. And Councilmember Lee, I see you way back at podium number 7. You're recognized.
May I have committee reports, please, sir?
You certainly can. Councilmember Gamble, you're recognized.
Public safety, beer and regulated beverages voted for approval 6-0.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Councilmember Lee.
I would like to open the community, please.
All right.
Community hearing.
All right, so declare the public hearing open. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of the resolution. All right, see a number of people in the back. Those who are here in opposition to the resolution. Seeing none, those in favor wish to speak. All right, come on up. I need your name, address, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Christian Morgan, 3041 Barnes Bend Drive, Antioch. I'm one of the owners of the Tipsy Pig. We also own Pork Belly Cafe in Lenox Village. We have small beer offerings there. This is a very small establishment. It'll be my business partner and I's second restaurant in Nashville. I think a total of 30 seats will be in this building. We've worked with the developer to create a concept that we think will serve the neighborhood well. And I want to thank Councilperson Lee again for meeting with me the last couple of weeks and kind of walking me through what she thought of the place.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on this? Ma'am, come on up. Name, address, and you've got 2 minutes. And let us get to the microphone first. Thank you. All right, name, address, and you've got 2 minutes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Aubrey McCauley. I am at 106 Skylark Alley, Nolensville, Tennessee. I live in the neighborhood of the Tipsy Pig. We've been anxiously waiting for it for 4 years, I think, since I've moved in. So I speak on that behalf. I'm an administrator for our community. Over 250 people that are eagerly waiting for this, so I completely support it. Thank you, Antoinette.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Seeing none, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Lee, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. I'd like to move approval with a slight comment afterwards.
All right, so the motion is to approve the resolution, properly seconded. Back to you, Councilmember, for a slight comment.
You all may have gotten an email about a neighbor who did not approve of this, but I will tell you I've been out in the neighborhood several times, and the people that I have all talked to are waiting for this, and we're wondering what happened. So this is something that the community, especially right there in that area, and it is not the only commercial spot that's right there in the neighborhood. So this will be a good thing, and I would ask for your approval, please. Thank you, sir.
So Councilmember Lee has moved approval, properly seconded. Any discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the resolution say aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is passed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Lee. All right, that completes all resolutions on public hearing. We're now on page 5 of the calendar. These are consent resolutions and resolutions. I'm going to read the resolution numbers that are on the consent agenda. If you see something that I've read that should come off, please let me know. All right, so these are resolutions on the consent agenda. RS 2020-586, that's item number 22 on your agenda. 588, 589, 590, 591, 592, 593, 594, 596, not 597, 598, 599, 600, 601, 602, 603, 604, 605, and 606. Anything that needs to come off that consent agenda? Nope. Councilmember Murphy, let me see where you are. Podium number 9. You're recognized.
Please pull 606.
Okay. All right, 606 has been pulled. That's the last one. That was item number 42. Okay. Anything else? Councilmember Johnston, anything that needs to be pulled? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to read the captions of these bills. Remember, 606 got pulled. All right, here we go. This is item number 22, RS 2025-86, resolution accepting a grant from the Regions Foundation of Tennessee to the Nashville Community Engagement Fund, support the Metropolitan Barnes Housing Trust Fund for affordable housing. Item 24, RS 2025-88, resolution accepting a grant from the Center for Tech and Civic Life to the Metropolitan Government through the Davidson County Election Commission to provide planning and operating a safe and secure election administration in Davidson County in 2020. RS 2025-89, that's item 25. Resolution approving Amendment 1 to a grant from Living Cities to the Metropolitan Government through the Finance Department to support the city's work with the city's Accelerators Retake Inclusive Procurement Cohort Program for improved participation of minority and women-owned businesses in the Metropolitan Government's procurement process. Item 26, RS 2025-90, resolution appropriating funds from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to the Metropolitan Action Commission to support the Head Start program. Item number 27, RS 2025-91, resolution approving amendments 2, 3, and 4, appropriating funds from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services to the Metropolitan Action Commission to support the Head Start program. Item number 28, RS 2025-92, resolution to appropriate subrecipient grant agreement funds from the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency to the Metropolitan Government through the Metropolitan Action Commission to address rent and mortgage assistance for up to 3 months. RS 2020-593, resolution accepting a Tennessee CARES Act Coronavirus Agricultural and Forestry Business Fund grant from the Tennessee Department of Agriculture to the Nashville Farmers Market to respond to COVID-19 business disruption and supply chain improvement initiatives. We're on page 9. Item number 30, RS 2025-94, resolution approving Amendment 2 to a grant from the State of Tennessee Department of Health to the Metropolitan Government acting through the Metropolitan Board of Health to provide chronic disease prevention and management services to reduce risk associated with pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or heart disease and stroke. RS 2020-595, that's not on the consent calendar. RS 2020-596, Gamble, Welch, and Benedict are the sponsors. Resolution approving Amendment 2 to a grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Office of Emergency Management to provide resources to procure items, training, and or equipment for hazardous materials preparedness. Item number 33, RS 2020-597, Toombs, Van Rees, and others, a resolution accepting a child and adult care food program grant from the Tennessee Department of Human Resources to the Metropolitan Government through the Metro Parks and Recreation Department to provide nutritious meals and snacks for children attending after-school programs in 6 park locations. Item number 34, RS 2020-598, Stiles, Toombs, and others, resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement by and between the State of Tennessee, Department of Transportation, and the Metro Government through the Department of Public Works for the acceptance of traffic signal improvements in connection with construction of the I-24 eastbound exit ramp at State Route 254. Item number 35, RS 2020-599, Taylor, Murphy, and Nash, resolution to amend ordinance number BL 2020-167 to authorize the Metropolitan Government to accept a fire hydrant assembly, sanitary sewer manhole, and easements, and update map and parcel information. Property is now located at 1600 State Street and 300 Barbecue Alley. I've got item number 36. This is Toombs, Syracuse, Mendus, and others. RS 2020-600, a resolution expressing the opposition of the Metropolitan Council to the proposed charter amendment submitted by petition and conditionally scheduled for referendum election on December 15, 2020. Item number 37, RS 2020-601, resolution requesting the Metropolitan Department of Public Works work with the Tennessee Department of Transportation to place signage within the Metropolitan Government's jurisdiction related to the limitation on the use of an engine compression braking device. Item number 38, RS 2020-602, a resolution honoring the life of former council member Tony Tinbenny. Item number 39, RS 2020-603, a resolution recognizing Abe's Garden feature as a case study in Alzheimer's disease, International's World Alzheimer's Report 2020. Item number 40, RS 2020-604, a resolution celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Adventure Science Center. And item number 41, RS 2020-605, a resolution recognizing Holy Rosary Academy for being named 2020 Blue Ribbon School by the U.S. Department of Education for the second time. Last one was sponsored by Councilmembers Syracuse, Mendes, Murphy, and others. All right, so those are the list. Anything need to be pulled off of there? Okay, seeing none, I need committee reports. All right, let me start first with affordable housing. Councilmember Sawara. You are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Affordable housing recommended approval. On 586, we voted 9 in favor, 0 against. On 592, we voted 10 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Sawara. Councilmember Toombs, budget and finance.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Resolution 2020-586, 588, and 589, Budget and Finance voted to recommend approval, 10 for, 0 against. Resolution 2020-590, 591, 592, 593, 594, 597, and 598, Budget and Finance recommended approval, 11 for, 0 against.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Toombs. Codes, Fair, and Farmers Market. Councilmember Cash.
On 2025-93, we moved approval, 6 in favor, 0 against.
Okay. Sorry for the feedback. We're trying to get that squared away. I've got Councilmember Taylor. You're at podium 7. Okay, you're recognized for health in the hospitals. 1, 2, 3. Hold on. You're at podium number 6. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Health, Hospitals, and Social Services move to approve RS 2020-590, 591, 592, and 594. 8 in favor, 0 against.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Taylor. I've got Councilmember Murphy at podium number 9. You're recognized.
Planning, Zoning, and Historical on Resolution 598 and 599, 15 in favor, 0 against.
All right. Councilmember Van Rees for Parks, Library, and Arts. Good.
Forgive my tardiness.
That's all right.
Resolution 2020-597, 4 in favor, 0 against.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Van Rees. Councilmember Gamble for Public Safety.
Resolution 596 by Gamble and Welch voted for approval, 6-0.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Nash, I'm having depth perception, but I think you're at podium number 6. You're recognized.
I think you're correct. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Public Works Committee reviewed RS 2020-598, RS 2020-599 on our consent agenda and moved for approval, 8 for, 0 against. We took up RS 2020-601 and recommend approval, 9 for, 0 against. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Nash. Councilmember Johnston, take us home. Rules confirmations.
Thank you. Rules, confirmations, and public elections considered RS 2020-588, 600, 602, 603, 604, and 605. We voted 6 in favor, 0 against, and with that, I would move approval of the consent agenda.
All right. Chairman Johnston has moved approval of the consent agenda, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion is adopted. Consent agenda is passed. Okay, so let's go back and take up all those measures that were not on the consent agenda. We are on item number 18, RS 2020-518. It's on page 5 of your agenda by Councilmember Glover. Resolution providing amendments to the Charter of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in accordance with Article 19, Section 19.01 thereof, setting forth a brief description of each amendment to be placed on the ballot. Councilmember Glover, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to move to defer this one meeting because I think the judge will be
rendering their opinion or the verdict, however it's said, on November 3rd. Mr. Cooper, is that correct? Am I getting?
Let me get Mr. Cooper. Yeah. Hold on. Mr. Cooper, you're on.
Based on the media reports I saw, that's correct.
Okay. So if that's the case, and if the judge rules against anything going on the ballot, then I'll withdraw it. But as of right now, I'd like to defer for one meeting.
Okay, got a motion to defer one meeting, properly seconded. I've got Councilmember Mendez at podium number 1. You're recognized.
Thanks, Mr. Vice Mayor. Procedurally, can I make a motion to have us just vote it down for good, or do we need to deal with the motion to defer first?
Mr. Cooper, we've got a motion to defer in front of us.
Under Roberts, a motion to defer takes precedent, so it would have to be dealt with first.
All right, Mr. Vice Mayor, I'll speak on the motion to defer. I guess it's appropriate for the Halloween season that Councilman Glover has a zombie resolution that just won't go away. We've killed this in committee a couple times with indefinite deferral. We killed it pretty good at the last meeting on a nearly, I think there was one no vote that I heard. It died on a voice vote. This is not going to be on the ballot. This body is never going to approve it. We should just end the circus that's being created over it and get clarity for the voters. So I would urge everybody to vote no on the motion to defer so we can just kill it again, hopefully for the last time tonight.
All right, I'm going to go back to Councilmember Glover at podium number 4, and then Councilmember O'Connell. I just need you to get to a microphone. Councilmember Glover, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Let me be very clear. I don't think there's any circus about this. The people that have had a massive tax increase find no humor in this whatsoever. This is a compromise, one that I keep trying to talk with this body about, have been trying to talk to this body about for months and months. And so if we keep overturning, that's fine. But it's literally boxing the taxpayers into a corner. And, I'll just, if the judge brings it back to where it does go on the ballot, I'll refile it. In fact, I'll go ahead and give notice right now. I will do that. So if you want to, you're going to kill it tonight, that's fine. I'll bring it back. And if once again we tell the voters their voice is not important to us, then we can reaffirm that, or I'll let those who want to reaffirm that to the general public do that one more time. And with that, whatever the council chooses is what I will move forward with. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Glover. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move to defer this bill to the second meeting of August 2023.
So, Mr. Cooper, I'm going to ask you, I've got a motion to defer, and now I've got another motion to defer.
Both motions are motions to defer to a date certain, and I think that's functionally the same motion. I think you have to deal with a deferral motion that is currently pending before you can deal with another motion to defer to another date.
Okay. So, Councilmember O'Connell, your motion then is out of order based upon that. So we have to deal with the first one first, and then we can worry about the second one if that comes up. So we are on a motion to defer one meeting. Councilmember Rosenberg, you're recognized at podium 10.
Previous question.
All right, so Councilmember Rosenberg has called the previous question. There was nobody else in the queue. All those in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, we're on the previous question. This is a deferral motion, so let's try it by voice vote. The motion is to defer one meeting. This is Resolution RS 2020-518. All those in favor of the deferral motion for one meeting say aye. Opposed, no. So the noes have it, so the deferral motion is voted down. Now I've got another motion that was pending. I think I go back to Councilmember O'Connell. Councilmember O'Connell, hold on, let me find you. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to renew my motion.
Your motion is to defer until
second meeting of August 2023.
Second meeting in August 2023. I've got a second. All right, so the motion is to defer to the second meeting in August of 2023, properly seconded. Discussion? Councilmember Rosenberg, you want, hold on, let me find you. Councilmember Rosenberg.
Previous question.
Councilmember Rosenberg has moved the previous question. All those in favor of the previous question say aye. Opposed, no. Previous question prevails. We are on a motion to defer to the second meeting in August 2023. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes. Okay. All right. So it's deferred to the second meeting in August of 2023. All right. We are now on RS 2020-527 by Councilmember Hall, resolution appropriating a total of $1.5 million from the COVID-19 Pandemic Fund to Jefferson Street United Merchants Partnership and Street Works for COVID-19 related community outreach testing and care. Councilmember Hall, you are recognized at podium number 1.
Committee report, please.
All right, I've got Budget and Finance. Councilmember Toombs, she's coming your way. Councilmember Toombs.
Budget and Finance recommended to defer one meeting, 10-4-0 against.
All right, back to you, Councilmember Hall.
One meeting deferral, please, sir.
All right, Councilmember Hall has moved to defer RS 2020-527, one meeting, properly seconded. Any discussion on on the deferral motion? Councilmember Hurt, you're recognized. Councilmember Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, and I want to thank the sponsor for presenting this legislation, but I respectfully ask that it be withdrawn. I don't want there to be any appearance or perception that as a sitting council member that I am seeking any favoritism from my colleagues to support the organizations for which I serve as an employee. As much as funds are needed to support the magnificent work that has gone on in both organizations for over 20 years, I would not put the organizations in this compromising position, nor would I do such with my colleagues. So I respectfully ask that this particular resolution be withdrawn. And again, I thank the councilman who sponsored it and all of those who had wonderful things to say in support of it. I certainly appreciate it, and I do believe that with such great support that things will work out for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hurt. Councilmember Hall, you're recognized back at podium 1.
And I absolutely respect Councilmember Hurt's remarks. It's something we had discussion with before and after committee meeting. I'm inclined to do so, but I'd like to do so with a brief statement, which is very simple. I think it's unfortunate that it creates that type of situation because it is a phenomenal organization that is on the front line every day doing some tremendous work, and that is in desperate needs of those funds. And so if there is a way that we can come together and find a way to help that organization, maybe through the Homeless Commission with Ms. Tackett, who they work hand in hand with quite a bit, or Nashville General, I'd be willing to do that. And I'm also mindful of some of the unfortunate things that she's had to endure in the past years with the same organization where we've done some things with Metro before, and she was called into question unfairly. And so I want to make sure that that's on the record and noted that it does have still a lingering impact. But with that said, I'll move to withdraw.
All right, so let me check with Mr. Cooper. We have a motion to defer one meeting, and now he wants to move to withdraw. Do we need to? Okay. So you can actually move to withdraw, or you can just withdraw?
Withdraw.
Bill, the resolution is withdrawn. Thank you, Councilmember Hall. All right, we're now on item number 20. This is RS 2020-576 by Councilmember Van Rees, Hancock, and others. It's a resolution requesting the COVID-19 Financial Oversight Committee recommend to the Metropolitan Council the appropriation of not less than $1 million of CARES Act funds to the Metropolitan Arts Commission. Councilmember Van Reese, you're at podium number 1. You're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice Mayor. I am going to move to withdraw this resolution with a brief comment.
All right, you've got, it actually went to your committee.
It did go to my committee, and they voted in favor of the deferral. 5 in favor, 0 against.
All right, Councilmember Van Reese is going to move to withdraw?
Yes.
Or just withdraw?
Withdraw.
Is just going to withdraw the
I
resolution?
am going to withdraw with a brief comment, if you'd be so kind.
I'll give you a brief comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Colleagues, thank you so much for the process that we went through in this regard. Bringing the resolution was able to allow us to have a discussion about this particular very important observation in regard to the need for funding for our arts and cultural nonprofit organizations. As you recall, the resolution requested no less than $1 million. I'm happy to report that at our next meeting, you'll be seeing a resolution come over from the COVID-19 Financial Oversight Committee that met last week and agreed to actually offer $2 million to this organizations through the Metro Arts. 2 points that I wanted to make before I sit down. One is that Charlotte and Boston received $1 million from their cities for their cultural arts. San Antonio and Phoenix, 2.6. Austin, Texas, which we unfortunately continue to compare ourselves to, which I think is unnecessary, received $7 million for their arts and cultural. So there's still work to do, but please keep in mind that $2 million does sustain through this COVID situation in a way that we intended and does not do really more than that. I want to thank my fellow council members that served on the committee for seeing this through. Excellent leadership, and I look forward to co-sponsoring the legislation at the next meeting. Also wanted to give a shout out to Ellen Angelico, who is a District 8 resident and world-renowned guitar player. She religiously watches these meetings, and it is for you and for the musicians, artists, and folks in District 8 that I am thinking of every day. Thank you so much for the moment to be able to say that.
Thank you. Councilmember Van Reese. That resolution is withdrawn. All right, we're now on item 21, RS 2020-577 by Councilmember Glover. It's a resolution requesting the Metropolitan Board of Public Education to reopen all schools immediately following the school system's fall break. Councilmember Glover, you're recognized.
Committee reports, please.
All right, I've got Education Committee. There he is. Okay, you're recognized, Councilmember Druffel.
Education Committee, 0 for, 6 against.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Druffel. Back to you, Councilmember Glover.
This was merely a non-binding memorializing resolution asking the school system to open up all the grades. While I appreciate what was said in the committee, there's also a number of parents that have reached out to me. In fact, quite a number of them that have reached out to me over the last month, 2 months. And while we are certainly not the schools, that's why this is not binding. We have no authority in that arena. It just merely sends a message, and I'm just doing what parents ask me to do to try and get their students back in, or at least the option of the hybrid. With that, I'll renew for passage.
All right, so Councilmember Glover has moved for passage of Resolution RS 2020-577, properly seconded. Any discussion? I see nobody in the queue. You ready to? All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? No. All right, so this has got negative votes, so we're going to have to go on the board. Madam Clerk, can you get ready for that?
Ready, Vice Mayor.
Okay. So we are voting on RS 2020-577 by Councilmember Glover. Again, a resolution requesting the Metropolitan Board of Public Education reopen all schools immediately after the school system's fall break. If you're for the resolution, you vote yes. If you're against it, you vote no. Madam Clerk, open the machines. Everybody voted? Wait a minute, Councilmember Porterfield, we're in the middle of voting. Are you having trouble with the machine?
Yes, Vice Mayor, I had entered Councilmember Porterfield is not present, so this system currently isn't aware that she's here. I'll have to update the roll call after this vote, and I can take the vote by voice.
Well, do you want Councilmember Porterfield to vote right now so we can get her vote on record?
That's right.
Okay, so Councilmember Porterfield, if you go back up to podium number 7, indicate the way you're going to vote. Thank you, Councilmember Porterfield.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm a strong no.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
No, all votes have
We're
been
good?
cast.
Okay. So, Madam Clerk, close machines. Take the vote.
1 in favor, 33 against.
Okay. So it's 1 yes, 33 noes, 1 abstention. The resolution fails. All right. All right. We're now on item number 23, RS 2020-587. Resolution amending the grant contract approved by resolution number RS 2020-239 between Woodbine Community Organization and the Metropolitan Government, authorizing the provision of additional grant funds from the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing of Woodbine Community Organization. Councilmember Suara, you're recognized at podium 4.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
All right. Budget and Finance, Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Budget and Finance recommended approval, 9 for, 0 against, 1 abstention.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Toombs. Back to you, Councilmember Suara.
And Affordable Housing recommended approval, 9 in favor, 0 against. With that, I move for approval with a brief explanation.
Okay, I got Resolution RS 2020-587. Move for approval, properly seconded. Back to you for discussion.
This resolution is actually adding back some money that was impounded from Woodbine community from the first contracts that went out. And so the original contract was $2 million, but because of the impoundment of the funds, they were not able to get all of this. And so this resolution is just adding back what was taken before. And this was the only contract that was affected by the impoundment, so that's what this does. Thank you.
All right.
With
So
that,
you've heard the explanation. We're on Resolution RS 2020-587. It's been moved for approval. There was a second. We'll try this by voice vote. All those in favor of RS 2020-587 say aye. Opposed, no. So there's a no. Okay, so we're going to have to go on the board. All right. So, Madam Clerk, if you could prepare the machine.
Put the machines to vote, Vice Mayor.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So we are voting on RS 2020-587. Again, if you want to vote for it, you would vote aye. If you vote against it, you would vote no. Madam Clerk, open up the machines. Oh, well, hold on just a second. Councilmember Porterfield, you're recognized at podium number 7.
Point of order, can we have discussion on it?
We could, but nobody had their hands up. So we're voting on something, so it's too late to have it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so Councilmember Hurton, do you want to be recognized? Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm looking at the machines, and sometimes the only thing I can see are this thing over here, and your name's not on it. So we have actually already voted. We're in the middle of voting. So that's why we can't go back and have discussion on this thing. So we are back, because we are in the middle of voting. We are voting, remember, and then we had a no, so now we have to be on the board. So we're in the middle of the process of voting. So, Madam Clerk, So, Councilmember Hurt, if it's a point of order, then I can recognize that, even though we're in the middle of voting. Okay, so you'll need to come to a microphone.
I apologize. A point of order. I know I pushed my button to have some discussion in regards to it, and then the vote came up. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if it all got transmitted together or what happened, but I did make the request speak.
Okay, so Mr. Cooper, I'm going to come to you. So here's the situation. We are in the middle of voting. Then we had to switch because there was a negative vote. So we're in the process of voting, and now we have people who want to have discussion. Is there a way to pull the vote back and not vote and then have discussion?
No, we would have to close the vote and either someone move to rescind action on the vote or without objection, just allow someone to say something.
Okay, so that's the problem. What we're in is the situation, and again, we're trying to do the best we can up here. I'm looking at this mic at the board. We did not see anybody in the queue. That's why we went ahead and called for the vote. What we can do is go ahead and proceed with the vote. You can always move to reconsider. I've got another point of order. Councilmember Johnston, back at podium number 3. Okay.
Thank you. Council Lady Porterfield, I think her computer was not working properly because it wasn't recognizing that she was here, so she didn't have the ability to raise her hand. Is that correct, Council Lady Porterfield? So could I make a motion to rescind the vote where we are with it so that we can open the discussion?
I don't think there's a way to do that.
And actually, I mean, this
Can you
machine has
cancel
been
the vote?
updated.
What if we just suspend the rules and just cancel the vote?
Yeah, if she can cancel it out on the machine, I just don't know if that's...
Okay, so hold on, we're checking from a clerical thing. So I will tell you that from my standpoint, if we can get out of this, then I'm happy to allow discussion.
Okay, thanks.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, I can cancel.
Okay, so I think we can pull it back. So here's the situation. We're in the middle of a vote, I understand. We have people who, I know Councilmember Porterfield is having technical issues. We have people who would like to talk. Councilmember Johnston has asked, she would like to rescind the action. The question is this body okay with just pulling back from the vote? We can pull it right now. We haven't taken the official final vote. And then allow discussion. I've got people shaking their heads, yes or no. So I can do it without objection, but Councilmember Glover, you okay? We're going to have discussion, and then we will come back for the vote. All right. Without objection, it's clear that we're going to pull the vote back. We're back now on discussion. We are on Resolution RS 2020-587. Thank you for working with us on this one. All right, so I'm going to go to Councilmember Porterfield. You want to be recognized? I'm going to put you back at podium number 7. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and I apologize to the body. I did want to share some thoughts and concerns that I have. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm not in support of this resolution. That's very hard for me to say because I'm a big proponent of affordable housing, and I believe that we do need affordable housing and workforce housing all over our city. The reason why I'm not in support, we've had some conversations before about our schools. Schools in Southeast Nashville are at capacity or approaching capacity. We have consistently approved more and more housing in an area that has crumbling infrastructure. We are having traffic concerns. We have long wait times to get police. We have too many students in our schools, and our students are in portables. And we've had conversations as a body before about being responsible with our growth, and we have to make sure that our infrastructure is able to keep up with the housing that we are approving throughout the city. I also have concerns about concentrations of poverty in the city. I did ask for some data, and unfortunately, since I was having a tech issue here, I wasn't able to to get it pulled up. But when I look at the data of where we see affordable housing in the city, there are 6 zip codes that have more than 100 projects of affordable housing. I think in 37217 it was over 300. In other zip codes in our city, we only have 2. And if we are looking at being equitable as a city, we have to make sure that we have diversity of housing in every single corner of our city. And I know that some of my colleagues will likely think that this is not in my backyard or think that this is classism. And I just want to state that's not my intention whatsoever. Again, I'm a huge proponent of affordable housing. When we first had the conversation about money being pulled from the Barnes Fund, I was very upset about it. And I was very adamant that money went back to the Barnes Fund. So I know how important it is to make sure that we're getting money in our city for affordable housing, but we have to look at what we're doing and what type of communities we're creating. And working in schools, when we have lots of students that are, the schools are overcrowded, that's not setting our students up for success. And I've worked at schools all over our district, all over the city of Nashville, and it's a huge, it's a big disparity in some of our schools based on income levels, based on how many students are enrolled in our schools. And we can't set our students up for failure by continuing to add more and more students to schools that are already filled. So with that, I'm voting no. Thank you for the opportunity to let me speak, Vice Mayor, and to the body. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Council Member. Council Member Hurt, you're recognized.
Also want to apologize to the body. And my concerns is more about the inclusion and equity of other organizations to have the opportunity to provide affordable housing. Woodbine Community Organization has been a special child of the city of Nashville and has built a great capacity and foundation. Just even in this CARES Act, they've already received $1.2 million. And I recall historically there was a neighborhood stabilization program that Woodbine received several tens of millions of dollars along with other organizations, and it was to stabilize neighborhoods in 17 census tracts. 9 of those census tracts were in North Nashville, and they did not work with North Nashville organizations in order to allow them to assist in helping to stabilize those communities. And I think that the city of Nashville has done those communities a disservice by including the organizations that are working on the ground with the communities and the people in the communities. So I'd like to see the Woodbine Community Organization share the wealth. Even if they're going to get it, make sure that they partner with a community organization, a local organization, in order to help build the capacity. There are several in the North Nashville community, like the 15th Avenue Baptist CDC, that's done affordable housing, or New Level CDC and Be a Helping Hand CDC. There's a North Nashville Tornado Relief Coalition that is a combination and coalition of several organizations that's been in the communities for over hundreds of years. So I think that we need to spread the funds that are being given to make sure that not only does it reach those community people, but reach the organizations that serve those individual people. So I too cannot support this, and I encourage my colleagues not to support it until we find a way to be more equitable in our distribution of this and not continue this tale of two cities. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Council Member. I've got Council Member Hall. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to echo the sentiments of the previous two council members. It's not about not supporting the Barnes Fund, but we've had these conversations extensively. The census tracts that Councilmember Hurt just mentioned are real. Those are the same census tracts that are mentioned repeatedly in the disparity study Metro did and in the fair housing assessment. We spoke about this several times in the last term and at the beginning of this one, that again, it's not about the existence of or the process, but we have to be mindful of the concentration of and creation of generational poverty. Because if you look at where these projects continue to repeatedly go, they're going into the same areas with the same people who are still suffering from the same disadvantages. When you have a lack of infrastructure, when you have schools closing or at capacity, when you have no jobs, no public transportation, there is no pull yourself up by the bootstraps process. That creates, by definition, generational poverty. And we keep coming back to this same point. At some point, we're going to have to take a better look at how we go through this process and, yes, start to spread the wealth. Now, if that comes down to changing the rules in the process, allowing more areas of the city to qualify and just not say no, then that's what we need to do. But equitable means equitable, and other areas of the city are going to have to do their fair share.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Hall. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This one is tough. I hear the call for data, and I actually concerned about some troubling remarks that I had heard across last term, reviewed with a previous administration, the actual data on affordable housing. And I mean, I'm happy to share with council members that, you know, District 19, which is at the heart of the city, it's an urban district and has part of North Nashville, has part of shallow South Nashville in it as you get through Napier and Sudicum. Also has the most public housing acreage of any council district, has the highest per capita poverty of any council district, which is one of its difficult truths that was true when I first took office in September of 2015. Even now, we are building the Randy Rogers Apartments in historic Buena Vista adjacent to the Cheatham Place community. Just a couple years ago, we had the grand opening of the 10th and Jefferson mixed income community. We are looking in District 19 to build housing, plain and simple. The more, and honestly, the more affordable, the better. This is something I wish more communities would embrace. I understand the point about schools, but the truth is the prevalence of affordable housing projects being exclusively in some districts and not others, there are some serious misconceptions about that, and I hope colleagues will work with Hannah Davis and others who are presiding over the process of public funding for affordable housing and make sure that we're clear on this, because we are 30,000 units short of what we need right now. And if the problem is schools, I am happy to build more capacity in schools. You know, I don't know that any member of council who represents a district is going to raise their hand and say all of the infrastructure in their district is gleaming right now. We have an infrastructure challenge as a city, but we need, our bigger challenge is the one of access to affordable housing, and I would encourage colleagues to support this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember O'Connell. Councilmember Swarner.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I welcome all the comments from everyone, and as chair of the Affordable Housing Committee, I wanted to say that that conversation actually started yesterday in our committee, and we also have plans to have Anna Davis come and meet with us and talk some more. I think for me, the biggest part is on the distribution of the resources, the people that are building, the people that has the opportunity to be part of the project and to be able to help. I think those are very good conversation, and to know how we make the allocation in terms of who gets what, in terms of the organization as well as the people that are involved. So those are things that we as a committee wants to take on. I do also agree that considering what's going on now with COVID, people losing jobs, we will have a lot of people losing homes, unfortunately. And so the need for affordable housing is going to be great. And I think that stopping them is not what we want to do, but we want to make sure we create more. We don't have enough, but it's also important that we look into the distribution. And so that's what the committee will be doing. We hear all the comments, and something that I do agree with is something that I'm interested in, and it's something that we're going to take into consideration, and I'm glad that at least all of our colleagues are hearing the same comments. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just as the council's representative on the commission, I want to just give a couple of points here. And I don't want to refute anything that any council member has said. I think there are all valid points. Former Commissioner Bodenhammer brought several years ago this issue to the commission, spoke very forcefully in a way that I still remember, how he addressed the equity needs geographically of how we distribute affordable housing in our county. And I don't think his comments were limited, quite frankly, to the Barnes Fund. As the process we go through on the Barnes Fund, I do want to remind colleagues, and I think it was mentioned in the description of the bill, this particular bill is backfilling the funds that we, quite frankly, already promised, that all of us already promised, on a project that we previously approved. This is purely a financial move to amend that grant in order to make sure that we are good on our word. So I want colleagues to consider that in the micro while validating the macro, that we do have to put affordable housing everywhere. And I will speak to my experience in the district I represent. We do have Barnes Fund projects going on in the district right now, in District 17. And I can tell you that there have been projects that, quite frankly, did not qualify for Barnes funding that then went for other moves like the pilots that we have done over the years in this body. So please know that when we go through a Barnes Fund process, it is one of a toolbox that I wish was much bigger, quite frankly, in the city for affordable housing. But I do want my colleagues to know that when we make these decisions on the Barnes Fund, we do discuss these. It is at top of mind, and we ask on every round, and are provided by Hannah, where these projects are, the scope of them, and I personally am trying to take into account how we're distributing them, not only from funds or projects from the commission that are Barnes funded, but throughout the county, throughout every tool that we have. And I'll be bringing you another couple here before the next few months that I'll be asking for your support for affordable housing in District 17. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Sledge. Councilmember Allen, did you wish to be recognized on this? All right. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
And if I punch my button, it's not showing, then we've got a computer malfunction happening.
Okay, yeah, it's not showing.
Thank you. I want to pick up on what the other council members have said. We do have a limited number of tools, low-income housing tax credit. Those bubbles show up in different parts of town. MDHA has a lot of housing. Those show up in different parts of town. Habitat for Humanity shows up in different parts of town. And when you actually overlay all those hot spots, it covers a bigger part of the county than any of us realize, I think, if you look only at one type of funding. And so clearly there is an issue of distribution that we need to continue to work on. And the way we do that is we expand our toolbox. And the Affordable Housing Committee is continuing to work on new tools that will work in other parts of town where they are currently not working. The Barnes Fund has been an incredibly powerful tool, and if I can recognize Ms. Davis over there, if there are any other pieces of information that you can add about this particular project in terms of the fact that it's already been halfway funded, and if it's underway, that seems like an especially relevant piece of information. I think it's important for us to acknowledge that, as Councilmember Sledge said, this is money that we've already committed to. The project is already partway funded. And as we work to deal with the other very important issues that have been raised here, I think we should take full advantage of the tools that we do have and that are working and that we have funding for, and then continue to expand that toolbox through the Affordable Housing Committee. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Allen. I've got Councilmember Evans. Hold on. Councilmember Evans?
Call the previous question.
Previous question has been called. So let's vote on the previous question. All those in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Previous question prevails. We're on the resolution. So, Madam Clerk, I need for you to prepare the vote. You tell me when you're ready. Okay, let's just remind everybody where we are. We're on RS 2587 by Councilmember Suarez, Toombs, and others. It's a resolution amending the grant contract approved by resolution number RS 2020-239 between Woodbine Community Organization and the Metropolitan Government, and authorizing provision of additional grant funds from the Barnes Fund for Affordable Housing to Woodbine Community Organization, Inc. The motion is to approve. It was properly seconded. Madam Clerk, you ready?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
All right, so we are, if you would, we're voting on RS 2020-587. If you're for the resolution, you vote yes. If you're against it, you'd vote no. Madam Clerk, if you would, open up the machines. Everybody voted?
Vice Mayor, I did want to ask someone from ITS to take a look at Councilmember Porterfield's machine, because it appears to me she's indicated she's voted, but I don't see it, and that was similar to last time. Also, Councilmember Hancock. Okay. I'm sorry, it's still not populating? Are you indicating? Okay, I see it now.
Are we good? Okay. We good, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Vice Mayor. Thank
All right.
you.
All right. So, Madam Clerk, if you would, close the machines, take the vote. Oh, they've already done it. Motion passes. There are 27 yeas, 7 noes. The resolution passes. All right. Thank you. All right. All right. We are now ready to proceed ahead. We're on now item 31. This is on page 9 of your calendar. It's 31 RS 2020-595 by Councilmember Taylor, Allens, Warren, and others. It's a resolution approving an amendment to an assignment. This is RS 2020-595, resolution approving an amendment to an assignment and assumption grant agreement to the Homeless Management Information System grant between the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency, acting by and through the Metropolitan Social Services Department, Homelessness Commission, to contribute to the national effort to end homelessness. And I'm going to go to Councilmember Taylor, who is at podium number 6. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to withdraw this resolution with a brief description or explanation.
Okay, so he's going to withdraw. It went to your committee, same type of report out of your committee.
Yes, committee report. We withdrew it in the committee as well.
Okay. What was you just went ahead and withdrew it? Is that
yes,
correct? Okay.
That's correct.
So Councilmember Taylor is withdrawing this resolution. Back to you for a brief explanation.
Thank you. In conversations with Metro Social Services and Homelessness Commission, there is some administrative errors in this grant or in this resolution that they would like to fix and and send back to us. And so we should be seeing that in about 2 meetings.
All right. So Councilmember Taylor has withdrawn the resolution, so it's withdrawn. So there's a question about item number 25. I believe that was RS 2020-589. I believe that was on the consent calendar. It was? So that item was on the consent calendar. Okay. It's already passed. All right. We are now on item 42. We're getting used to these new calendars. Gives you a lot more information, but it's harder to track down. We are on item 42, RS 2020-606. This is by Council Members Young, Murphy, Van Reese, and others. Resolution recognizing October 2020 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Council Member Young? Oh, you're going to handle it, Council Member Murphy? Okay. So Councilmember Murphy at podium number 9. You're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval with a brief explanation.
Okay, I guess we need a Rules Committee report. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Rules voted 6 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Back to you, Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you. This traditionally has been the resolution in October about breast cancer awareness has traditionally been the Women's Caucus resolution. But knowing Councilmember Young the way that I do, I asked if he wanted to be the lead sponsor on it. And unfortunately, he cannot be here tonight, but I wanted to share some of his remarks with the rest of the council because I know how important this is to him. I think many of us, myself included, have been touched by someone who has had breast cancer. And so I think that it is important that we bring this up in a time of COVID. And so if you'll just allow me a minute to read through some of his comments he wanted me to share. So he apologizes that he cannot be here tonight in attendance, but with the multitude of issues currently swirling in the public discourse, he wanted to make sure that we do not forget Breast Cancer Awareness Month. As many of us know, October is especially meaningful for him because it's not only Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it's also the month of his mother's birth. His mother, Teresa, would have turned 60 this month had breast cancer not taken her life 4 years ago. He does not share this out of pity, but because he wants to stress to every woman in this room and every woman watching at home the importance of early detection. His mother always went for an annual mammogram, but the year her husband died, she forgot to get one. The following year, she was diagnosed with stage 3, triple-negative breast cancer. Whether the cancer would have been detected in the year that she missed, he will never know. His ask and request to us is that we get our annual mammogram and remind our loved ones to do so as well, and in fact to plead with the women in our lives to get one. If money is an obstacle, reach out to the Meharry Medical College where mammograms are offered at no charge until the end of October. Early detection is key, and it literally can save our lives or one of our loved ones. So with that, thank you for that time, and I would like to renew my motion for approval.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Murphy. Councilmember Murphy has renewed her motion on RS 2020-606. It was properly seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. RS 2020-606 is adopted. We have 2 late filed resolutions. The first one is by Councilmember Johnston. It's a resolution amending RS 2020-478, 500, 515, and 516 to extend the deadline for disbursements of CARES funds to December 28, 2020, with return of those funds to the Metropolitan Government on or before December 30th, 2020, and extending the deadline of the committee's final report to Metro Council. Councilmember Johnston? Okay, so Johnston and Gamble, Councilmember Johnston, I see her coming. She is going to that podium. Now you've got me confused. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized. This is the late file resolution, RS 2020.
Extending deadlines?
Extending the deadline.
Okay, perfect. So all of the allocations that we have made to the different organizations for support have had a deadline of November the 15th. And then at that time, the funds were supposed to come back to the committee to give us enough time to reallocate. We have figured out a way to extend that so that these different organizations have more time to reach more individuals and more organizations and businesses for that support. And so we've extended that deadline until December the 30th, I believe, the 29th, 25th.
I'm
looking at Mary Jo. But it comes right back to us. We're giving them as much time as possible to give as much support to as many individuals, businesses, and organizations for the people that are most in need.
All right, so this is a late file resolution, so we're going to need to suspend the rules. Did it come to the Rules Committee?
It did, and we had no objection.
Okay, so Councilmember Johnston, you're going to need to suspend the rules to get this before us.
I'd like to suspend the rules, please.
All right, so Councilmember Johnston has moved to suspend the rules. Is there any objection to suspension of the rules? I see no objection. You're on your resolution.
I move for approval.
Okay, so Councilmember Johnson explained the resolution, has moved for approval, properly seconded. Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Councilmember Johnston. All right, and we had one other late filed resolution. This is by Councilmember Toombs. Resolution accepting 6 donations from the Tennessee Highland Rim Healthcare Coalition to the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Nashville Fire Department. And Councilmember Toombs is at podium number 1. You're recognized.
Committee report. Well, move to suspend the rules.
Okay, so Councilmember Toombs has moved to suspend the rules. Councilmember Johnston back at podium number 9. You recognize, did it come to the Rules Committee?
It did, and we had no objection.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Johnston. Councilmember Toombs, back to you.
And it also went to Budget and Finance, which voted to recommend approval 10-4-0 against.
All right.
And I'd like to move for approval.
Okay, so Mr. Cooper, did the first one resolution go before Budget and Finance? No, it did not, so I'm okay. So I didn't mess that one up.
I have it on my list.
Do I need to go back and get the report? Okay, so Councilmember Johnston, stay right there for just a minute. All right, so Councilmember Toombs, the budget report, give it to me again.
10-4-0 against.
All right, thank you. All right, so, and you move for approval of the late file resolution?
Yes, I did.
All right, so Councilmember Toombs has moved for approval of the late file resolution. This is the Tennessee Highland Rim Healthcare Coalition group. Properly seconded. I see Councilmember Gamble coming to the microphone. Councilmember Gamble, you're recognized.
Do I need to give the committee report?
So the problem with these late file resolutions is I don't have it listed where it went. Did it come to your committee as well?
Yes, it did.
Okay, Public Safety, what was the report there?
Voted for approval, 5 in favor, 0 against.
All right, no problem. Thank you. Did it come anywhere else? Good. Okay, so Councilmember Toombs has moved approval of this late file resolution, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The late file resolution is adopted. So what I need to do is go back just real quick on the first late file resolution that Councilmember Johnston had moved. We passed it. Just for the record, I believe it went to budget. So Councilmember Toombs, if you could give us the budget report on that late file resolution.
Budget and Finance recommended approval, 10-4-0 against.
All right. Did it go anywhere else that you know of? Okay. So that takes care of the budget report. Thank you, Councilmember Toombs. Thank you, Councilmember Johnston. I appreciate it. All right. So that completes the 2 late file resolutions. We are now ready for bills on first reading. Bills on introduction and first reading. Any bills that need to be considered separately? Councilmember Hauser? Okay. Yeah, Councilmember Hauser, if you come to the podium right next to you, I believe it's item number 54, BL 2025-02. Okay, if you've just come to the microphone, it's the one right next to you. Councilmember Hauser, you're recognized on item number 54.
Yes, I ask that this be pulled from our consent because it needs to I want it to be approved today, but then defer it till the first meeting in December to go through with this companion bill.
Okay, so we're going to pull it, and then I'll come back to you in just a minute.
That's correct.
Okay. Anything else that needs to be pulled from the items on the bills on introduction, first reading? Okay, seeing none, if there's no objection, we'll consider all the other ordinances on first reading in one vote at this time. Can I get a motion to approve? Got a motion to approve, properly second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of all the other bills on first introduction, first reading, say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, the motion passes. Okay, so back to you, Councilmember Hauser. This is item 54. It's on page 14 of your calendar. It's BL 2025-02. It's ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by amending the existing SP zoning for property located at 730 Old Hickory Boulevard. It's approximately 437 feet south of Old Charlotte Pike. Councilmember Hauser, you're recognized.
Yes, this bill had originally been presented last year, and it was deferred by the developer because this had to do with allowing access to an adjoining piece of property they did not yet own. And the owner of the property became very ill, so he wasn't ready to sell it. So they pulled it until they could actually own the property to give that property permission. So that's why it's back up now. And so I asked for this to be approved and to come back up on the first meeting in December.
All right, so the motion is to approve on first reading and then defer second. Okay. All right. So the motion is. Okay. All right. So the motion is to approve tonight, properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve on 2025-02 say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted. Thank you, Councilmember Hauser. All right. So we're now on page 15. These are bills on second reading. I'm just going to go through, and we have a few on consent, but I think we don't have that many bills, so I think I'll just go all through this. We're on item number 55, substitute bill BL 2020-197 by Councilmember Vercher, ordinance declaring a 120-day moratorium upon the issuance of building and grading permits for multifamily developments on property within portions of the Antioch area of Nashville, Davidson County. Councilmember Vercher is not here, so the bill is automatically deferred. Okay, deferred one meeting. All right, we're on item number 56. This is substitute BL 2020-224 by Councilmember Taylor, Hauser, and others. An ordinance amending Chapter 11.22 of the Metropolitan Code to require landlords to provide notice to tenants prior to the sale of property. Councilmember Taylor, you are recognized.
Thank you. I would like to move an amendment.
All right, so let me check, make sure. I think all committee reports, I believe, are in. All right, so Councilmember Taylor wants to move amendment number 1 in your packet, properly seconded. Back to you, Councilmember Taylor, for an explanation of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. In our last meeting, we had some great discussion in regards to this bill, in which led us to two pieces of two items that we wanted to change or remove in this bill. And so that would be that this section shall not apply to properties that have 100 rental units or more. So that will be removed. And then we will change the date in regards to the lease agreements entered on and after April 1st of 2021. That should be enough time. We'll give the first quarter of the year for any of these property owners and landlords to move forward with any changes that they would need to make in their lease agreements.
All right, so you've heard an explanation. Councilmember Taylor has moved to pass amendment number 1. Again, it was properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. Seeing no one in the queue or any of the... Oh, Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
I had pressed my button, so I don't know if that needs to get checked. I wanted to ask the sponsor how we are educating the public on the, I guess, not just on the bill, but on this amendment that it takes effect on April 1st.
All right, Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
I believe the bill is public record, so I think that's enough awareness. I believe Councilmember Murphy. I don't have a marketing budget to get the information out, so I'm not sure how we would get this information out. I'll share it with the individuals that we have worked with through this, the Realtors Association, along with the Greater Apartments Association. But other than that, we don't have much opportunity to do a blast of this information.
Councilmember Murphy.
While I appreciate the sponsor attempting to make this bill better, I think, again, this is a very dangerous precedent that we're setting, that this is going to adversely affect the mom and pop landlords in our community who are not necessarily a big business and a part or can afford to be a part or have their own lobbyist and lobbyist association. And they are going to be adversely affected when they are potentially taken to court because they are not aware of the regulations that we are putting in place upon them. On the flip side, I have concerns that tenants also won't be able to know about this legislation and could be taken advantage of by landlords continued while this bill is trying to prevent that from happening without any kind of public education. We're still at a loss where this is not, this is a solution that isn't necessarily fitting the problem that is being purported here.
Councilmember O'Connell has requested a point of order. We're on the amendment. That's correct.
And that was regarding the effective date and the unit count. So that was on the amendment.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Murphy. Back to you, Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval on the.
The motion, the motion is on the floor.
Right.
To move for approval. All right. All right. So, Councilmember Johnston, do you wish to be recognized?
No, just on the amendment.
We're just on,
okay, I wanted to speak on the bill as amended, so I'll wait. I'll wait.
Okay. So, nobody else is in the queue. So we are on Councilmember Taylor's amendment number 1 to substitute Bill 2020-224. All those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Amendment number 1 passes. Okay, so we're now on substitute BL 2020-224 as amended. Councilmember Johnston wanted to be recognized.
Thank you. This bill has been discussed for many, many months. There are a lot of flaws with it. I understand that Councilman Taylor has worked very hard to try to improve the bill, but it is still flawed legislation. There's no reason for Davidson County landlords to be treated anything different than any other landlords in the rest of the state. We have a state law that regulates this. If you want to change state law, I think you have an opportunity to run for the state legislature. I think we need to stay in our lane. This is bad legislation, and I hope that you will vote against it.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnston. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, I was trying to make sure I got a bill number right. Coming up in just a few items on our agenda is BL 2020-456. And I am interested tonight on second reading to kind of hear discussion about both of these bills, which appear to me to tackle a similar issue, right? I think as I heard Councilmember Taylor first introduce this bill, it was born out of an intent arising from the tornado when some badly damaged properties caught some tenants by surprise and looking to prevent that from recurring. I understand the spirit in which the sponsor has introduced the bill, but I think to Councilmember Johnson's and others, Councilmember Murphy and others who have spoken with concern about this bill, some of which I share myself, I want to hear how these two approaches differ. I'm comfortable at least considering this bill on second reading, but I think the meaningful distinctions between these two bills are going to matter a lot, so I would encourage colleagues to pay attention to 456 coming up on the agenda as well.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Suara.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I shared this in committee, and I don't know if it's happened to any of you. Recently, I got calls. 2 people called me wanting to know how much I would take for my house. They wanted to buy my house cash, and they wanted to know how much I would take for it. Does it need any fixing and things like that? With all due respect, Nashville went through the tornado. Surrounding counties, except for one, did not. And so there's a lot of things that's happening here You hear stories about people being asked to leave without much notice. And anytime this happens, people have to look into finding a new place, changing their kids' school, paying down payment on one house while still paying rent on the other. There is a problem here. The fact that it may not happen to us or we did not hear about it doesn't mean that it's not happening. And I think that we have to bear those in mind. So if people are calling and wanting to buy houses just like that, it is a seller's market. And sellers have the right to sell. I'm not opposed to landlords. But the point of the bill is that when you do want to sell, give your tenant enough notice so they can make plans for themselves and their kids. That's the point of the bill, and I ask that you support it.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Swark. Councilmember Rosenberg. You recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill, as I understand it, is to deal with a very real issue that affects tenants who do not have a lease. But the bill, as written now, does include properties where the individual has a written lease that already protects them. So there's an amendment in the packet that excludes those who have a valid written lease. So I would like to move that amendment just for the purpose of discussion to help me understand whether that's something that we should be adding to the bill or if there's a reason that it's not appropriate to add it. I think it's Amendment 3.
It is Amendment number 3 by Councilmember Johnston. So Councilmember Rosenberg is moving Amendment number 3, properly seconded. So we're now on Amendment number 3. We've got a motion to approve Amendment number 3. Does somebody want to explain what the amendment does, or do I need to go to Mr. Cooper? Mr. Cooper, I recognized you. We are on, okay, so let's tell everybody where we are. We're on Substitute Bill BL 2020-224 as amended tonight by Amendment number 1. Councilmember Rosenberg has now moved Amendment number 3, which is in your packet. It's by Councilmember Johnston. It's been properly seconded. Mr. Cooper.
The amendment adds an exception to the bill for property owners and tenants who have entered into a lease that complies with the Uniform Residential Landlord and Tenant Act, which is typically for leases of more than 30 days, and it requires a written agreement. And so if it's a residential unit that has a lease that complies with the Landlord and Tenant Act, then the provisions of this bill would not apply.
All right. So I've got people still in the queue. Councilmember Rosenberg has moved Amendment number 3. Councilor Mendez, do you want to be heard on this amendment? Okay. Councilor Mendez at podium 1.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. First, I want to say to Councilmember Taylor and the other sponsors, I do really appreciate where this is coming from, and there's been a lot of good effort on it. I've been a no vote on this and will be again tonight, no matter how amended. And I think this Amendment 3 demonstrates one of the problems with the bill overall, and that it creates complexity. You know, this a very difficult complexity for the market. You know, this amendment says that it wouldn't apply to leases that comply with the state law, but who's going to figure that out? Who's going to know whether particular leases comply with every provision of state law? And I mean, honestly, it does. This bill, frankly, is for high information landlords and tenants. It creates work for lawyers around transactions and trying to confirm whether leases comply with state law, complied with the new city law or not. And high information landowners will be able to work around this without doing much very different. And low information landlords and tenants aren't going to know about it. And it's not going to make much difference. And so, again, this amendment that says it doesn't apply if you have a lease that complies with state law begs a whole lot of questions. Anybody who's a tenant right now pretty much wouldn't, I don't think, have much of an idea about whether their lease complies, and so they wouldn't know whether the city law applies or not. I would say with the greatest respect to the intent of the sponsors, that at least for me, I've made a commitment. I'm going to say no more than one thing every time this comes up, but I'm going to continue to be a no across the board, just because I think it creates complexity and confusion and not really a lot of help for tenants.
Right. Thank you, Councilmember. I'm going to go back to Councilmember Taylor. You're recognized.
Thank you. In regards to amendment number 3, I think we had some very good discussion last meeting in regards to this. It's the IRLTA. Everyone should be following IRLTA right now, and we're still having this problem, right? And so we made the decision as a body, or Councilmember Johnston actually removed this amendment during that meeting and did not proceed with it. But we made that decision that IRLTA, if we say you're following this act, that you shouldn't be subject to this ordinance, which is the same thing that we're happening now. In regards to the state issue, we do have several bills throughout this entire state that do not comply with current state law. For instance, we have impact fees in some cities and some municipalities, and others we don't. And the state will say that Nashville can't do that, right? Also, with Bill 2024-56, it's similar but still yet not the same. This is prior to a sale, and 456 is for a current owner. So we can jumble everything in as we may, but yet still, this is an issue that we're facing. I had a chance to talk with a constituent just the other day, and in 2017, they had to leave their house immediately. They had people coming into their backyard doing measurements, walking through without any notice, and they were asked to leave shortly after and to get out in 45 days. The house was sold. 2 units were put up on the lot that's there now, and this family had to scramble to find a place to stay. And without the help of family and friends, they would be homeless. And so this bill could help people not have to scramble at the last minute.
All right. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized.
Thank you. So my amendment to Councilman Mendez's point, it was an effort to try to make this bill maybe a little bit better, but even with it or without it, the target of the bill is people that don't have leases. The example that Councilman Taylor just gave you, if that person had a lease, that would have been against the law for them to have been evicted without the proper notice that goes along with your lease. If you don't have a lease, this ordinance isn't going to protect you anyway. You don't have a lease. I think we have a great opportunity here to educate people on the importance of having a lease that will protect you in such items, in such instances. But the goal of this legislation is not effective. It's not going to help the people that don't have leases. And I, again, encourage you to vote no across the board.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Johnston. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. The current, there's verbiage in the current bill that has information about a lease. So if you have a lease, again, we've added that information into the bill. So if there's individuals, and I do agree, a lease is a mechanism, a safety mechanism that we're trying to trigger here. But we have that in this language of the bill currently right now. In argument to Councilmember Johnson, adding IRLTA doesn't add the lease information and the language into the bill. We have that without the IRLTA amendment.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Nash, you're recognized. Yeah, just do it at the same podium.
Gosh, I have, like many of you who have struggled with this one, just because I understand what Councilman Taylor's trying to do, but I'm coming to that position where I think in the effort to really assist the renter, we've created a lot of confusion and really are going to create this hardship for some of the renters. I still find problem with the language about the landlord must notify tenants within 5 days of the binding sale of the closing date. Closing dates move. When I bought my first house, the moving date closed a couple of times, or changed a couple of times because the rates for the percentage rates for the loan would change, and they'd have to make some adjustments. So I think this amendment, to speak to the amendment, does help the bill in that we can carve out a bunch of folks. And there are reasons that people don't want to lease. Sometimes they don't want to be tied down, and I think they accept it that when they do that, some responsibility for kind of being prepared to move. You don't want to be tied down. Well, the landlord maybe doesn't want to be tied down either, and you kind of go into that knowing that. And I think I just heard that the people were given 45 days. That's not a bad amount of time. And I know there's times probably when 90 days isn't enough, but there has to be a line somewhere, and I will probably be voting no on this.
All right, thank you, Councilor Nash. Councilor Glover, do you want to be recognized? Councilmember Glover has called the previous question, so we're on the previous question. All those in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We are on amendment number 3. Okay. So let's try the previous question again. Previous question, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, so we will be voting on amendment number 3. We'll try to do this by voice vote. It's amendment number 3. It was brought by Councilmember Rosenberg. It's actually in your packet as Councilmember Johnston's amendment. All those in favor of amendment number 3 say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. I think we're going to have to go on the board. Okay. So, Madam Clerk, you tell me when you're ready. Madam Clerk is ready. So here's what we're doing. We're voting on amendment number 3. Okay. We're on substitute bill BL 2020-224 as amended. We're on amendment number 3 brought by Councilmember Rosenberg. It's in your packet as Councilmember Johnston's amendment number 3. We are voting on that bill. If you're for the amendment, you vote aye. If you're against it, you vote no. Okay, Madam Clerk, open up the machines. Somebody having trouble with the machines?
All votes have been cast, Vice Mayor.
So all the votes are in?
Yes.
So, Madam Clerk, close the machines, take the votes. Right, so the vote is 22 noes, 12 yeses, 2 abstentions. Motion fails, so the amendment fails. All right, so Councilmember Taylor, we're back on your bill as amended.
Thank you. Again, if we continue to not take care of the Nashvillians that are here and continue to move here, we just had a very lengthy discussion in regards to affordable housing. We have to, this body, we have to start truly thinking about our constituents. Over 50% of our constituents rent in this city. 50% of our constituents can be asked to leave at any moment's notice. 45 days, if someone asked me to get out of my house in 45 days, I don't have enough time. I have no idea where I'd go next. So I'm asking you guys to join me and the sponsor of this bill to protect those Nashvillians that may not have a place to turn to if they are asked to leave.
All right, Councilmember Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks all for the conversation on that amendment. What I'm having trouble understanding is that I've got a constituent who, she's a realtor, and told me that a guy who rents out his property on long-term leases had somebody come. His property wasn't on the market. They came, made a cash offer on the house. He sold the house, and of course there's a lease, so he continued to rent it. So my issue with the bill is I don't understand why we're impacting that situation and making it so he can't sell his property when that tenant is protected. Why is this impacting tenants with long-term leases, properties where there's a tenant with a long-term lease, when that's not the issue at hand? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Taylor.
Mr. Cooper, I think we've discussed this. Could you help us understand, in this current draft of this legislation, if you have a long-term lease, are you exempt?
No.
Please explain.
Well, the amendment that was just defeated would have exempted residential properties that have long-term leases. That amendment failed. The bill as drafted does not have any exclusions built into the bill.
There's a rental agreement with leased premises in the bill.
Maybe I'm not following your question.
So if you have a lease, it says that the section will not apply when a written rental agreement addresses required notice to the tenant prior to the sale of the leased premises.
That's if the agreement requires written notice. I thought you were asking if leases
Right.
with, if you had a lease, you were exempt, and the answer is no. But if there is a provision in there that if you do have a lease and it includes provisions, then the provisions in the lease cover it.
Thank you.
If not, then your bill would.
Exactly.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Taylor. I've got Councilmember Toombs. You're recognized. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I stand in support of this bill as amended, and I urge my colleagues to vote in favor of it. We've had a lot of discussion, several points. The Landlord-Tenant Act applies to counties with populations over 75,000. That is not every county in Tennessee, so there's already some inconsistency in how tenancy is treated across the state. Yes, it's true that a lease follows the sale of a property. However, what about instances in which you've had someone who's lived in a property 10, 15, 20 years, maybe their entire lives? The property is sold suddenly, and maybe they only have a few months left in the lease, and the new buyer has to honor that lease. However, they have no intention of renewing the lease. Shouldn't that renter have some notice that that's going to happen, or that the purchaser of the property may have different intentions with the property, and that they're not going to renew the lease? Why can't that renter have a plan B? We're not saying that people can't sell their property. Of course they can do that. But the renter is at a significant disadvantage as opposed to the landlord. The landlord is going to walk away with a check. The renter is going to have to change their whole life and potentially have to find somewhere else to live. I had a relative who lived in a property for a few years, and that property was sold because the landlord was given an offer he couldn't refuse. And so my relative had roughly 30 days to move, and I assisted in that move, and it was a scramble. It was not easy to find housing within 30 days, and my relative lives in White House right now because they couldn't find something quickly enough in Davidson County. And of course, like everyone else, they needed shelter. Obviously, any restriction on a landlord or anyone is going to cause an inconvenience, but the greatest inconvenience is to the renters. And as Councilman Taylor has stated over and over again, over half of our households in Nashville are renters. We need to look out for them and at least give them some type of protection so that if they're in a situation where they need to their property is being sold and they need to leave, at least they have a heads up to put some plans in place so that their lives are not completely turned upside down. Please support this bill.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Toombs. Okay, Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Again, I think that we've got a bill before us that does a variety of different things that I think a lot of us still have questions about. In fact, the sponsor just had to ask our legal team what the bill does again. I think we are trying to tie a lot of different issues and say this legislation is going to solve a problem, that it is not going to solve that problem. If we want to talk about cash offers on homes, I personally do not own a piece of property in Davidson County, yet I get text messages on a regular basis for offers on my parents' property. In fact, my mother and I have nothing in common. I'm not over any of her property, yet I get offers texted to me on her personal house. The idea that I could just sell her personal house via text message, I think is so extreme to bring that into this conversation. We are grasping at straws. I think that we would spend our time and our constituents' time a lot better if we sat down, if this bill had been deferred and gone back to committee, if it had stayed in committee and we actually discussed how we could solve these problems and brought in experts. Planning committee tried to defer this. I tried to defer this so we could have some more conversation, and that was overridden. I think it is extremely disingenuous of the sponsor tonight, though, to say that we are not taking care of our Nashvillians if we do not support his legislation. I'm sorry, but 5 years in this office, I feel like I have tried to support and find solutions for my constituents and for Nashvillians across this county. And for him to say that if I don't support this bill, I don't care about Nashville and Nashvillians, that is just wrong. This bill needs to be deferred. It needs more work. It needs a whole heck of a lot of cleanup. And we need to actually talk about real solutions to the problems facing our constituents.
Thank you, Councilmember Murphy. I've got Councilmember Hauser. You're recognized.
I want to bring up the idea that everybody has a lease, because I know that there are a large number of individuals for a variety of reasons that do not have leases and they have absolutely no protection. They may not have a lease because the owner of the property isn't so sure if they want to keep them around that long. I know the agency that I work with, there are some individuals that we will kind of extend, okay, we'll let you go month to month until you've proven yourself. So there may be reasons from the landlord's point of view that they are not in a position to offer a lease. And as Councilman Taylor said, there may be reasons that the renter does not want to have a long-term commitment. And so for those individuals, we need to make sure we have some sort of protection, some sort of dialogue. I had someone stay with me for a few months that was couch surfing because of this very same type of situation. Their landlord sold the house and told them in a week, you got to move, because they did not have a lease. So we have to, whether it be this legislation or if we have to go back to the drawing board, this is something we cannot ignore. This is something we need to address. And I know earlier there was a comment that we don't need to rewrite state law. Well, Nashville has its own way of looking at things too, in addition to what's happening in the state. So I don't think just because we think that something is covered, we have to make sure that it is. And so back to Councilwoman Murphy's idea that maybe we need to bring in other experts to look at this. Whatever we decide to do, we have to look at the fact that we need to protect the most vulnerable, and the most vulnerable do not have leases. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Hauser. Councilmember Evans.
Call the previous question.
Councilmember Evans has called the previous question. So let me make sure we're clear. We're voting on the previous question. What we're getting ready to do, if you approve the previous question, is vote on Substitute Bill 2020-224 as amended to pass on second reading. So again, you're not voting on the bill yet as amended. You're voting just on the previous question. All those in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. All right, so we are on substitute BL 2020-224 as amended. All right, we'll try this by voice vote. This is on second reading. All those in favor of substitute BL 2020-224 as amended on second reading say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No.
Okay, I can't tell. So, Madam Clerk, we are going on the machines.
Okay. Shall I open
You
the
ready?
machines, Vice Mayor? Yes.
Okay, so again, we're voting on substitute BL 2020-224 as amended for passage on second reading. If you're for it, you vote yes. If you're against it, you vote no. Madam Clerk, open up the machines. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Clerk, close machines, take the vote. All right, so the motion passes. Bill passes on second reading with 18 yeses, noes, 16, 2 abstentions. So bill will go on to third reading. All right, so we're now on BL 2020-424, item number 57. This is by Council Members Murphy, Sledge, and others. Ordinance amending Chapter 15.64 of the Metropolitan Code to require additional public notice requirement regarding applications for Stormwater Management Committee variances. Councilmember Murphy, you are recognized at podium number 9.
Thank you. Committee reports, please.
All right, we've got Public Works, Councilmember Nash. This is a BL 2020-424. It's item number 57.
Number 57.
Page 16 of your agenda.
Yes. We were 10-4 and 0 against, as amended.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Nash. Back to you, Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you. I'm going to move for approval with a brief statement. Just to remind y'all which piece of legislation this is, I talked briefly about it last meeting. So what it does is currently, if an applicant is going to the Stormwater Committee for a variance, the only notification that the public has, other than stalking the committee or signing up for the agendas online, is a sign that is placed on the property. And most oftentimes, these variances are affecting people that are upstream and downstream, in addition to the people that are immediate neighbors. And so without mail-outs of that notification, the properties that could be affected, even sometimes more so than the immediate properties, are not being notified of the variance request. And so the amendment that I'll be moving, which I forgot to move, so I'll move back to that. The amendment is what the Stormwater Department has asked for in terms of fixing how many days the notice needs to go out for and that type of situation. And so that was just a cleanup for the department. And so with that, I'd like to move the amendment.
All right, so Councilmember Murphy has moved amendment number 1 to BL 2020-424 properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Councilmember Sledge? Okay, just getting stuff. Okay. Seeing nobody in the queue, all those in favor of amendment number 1 say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment number 1 passes. Councilmember Murphy, you're on your bill as amended.
Great. Thank you so much. And I would just like to renew my motion to move the bill as amended.
All right, so Councilmember Murphy has moved BL 2020-424 as amended, properly seconded. Any discussion? Bill's on second reading. Seeing nobody in the queue, all those in favor of BL 2020-424 as amended, say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes on second reading. We're on item number 58, BL 2020-454 by Councilmember Van Rees, Bradford, and others, an ordinance amending Title II of the Metropolitan Code to prohibit bullying in all Metropolitan Government Services activities, programs, and facilities. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized at podium 1.
Committee reports.
Committee reports. Councilmember Rutherford, you're recognized for personnel.
Personnel did not meet due to lack of a quorum.
All right, so we don't have a committee report.
If I can move the amendment and then re-refer back to the committee for something. Help me out.
Right. All right, so here's how we have to do this, because it doesn't have a committee recommendation. We are going to have to, you can put the amendment on, and then we'll send it back to personnel, but you can't pass it on second reading.
That's what I'm
Okay.
hoping to do. So
All right, so Councilmember Van Rees has moved the amendment, number 1, correct?
Yes, I'd like to move amendment number 1.
All right, properly seconded. Back to you for an explanation of the amendment.
Yes, I'd like to defer to my colleague Brett Withers to speak a bit about this amendment.
Councilmember Withers,
No,
are you
he
ready
doesn't
to
want
go?
Okay, he doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to do
Okay,
it?
cool.
Councilmember Van Rees, you're going to have to do it.
This is a clarifying amendment. If there's any questions, then Attorney Cooper can explain it.
It's a clarifying amendment. Do we need to have somebody explain what the amendment does? Mr. Cooper, I'm recognizing you.
The amendment includes an exception for the already existing civil service rule and the executive order dealing with workplace conduct that has some duplication. So to the extent those orders do not cover bullying, then this ordinance would apply.
All right. So you've heard an explanation of the amendment. Councilmember Van Rees?
Yes, with that explanation, I ask for approval of the amendment.
All right, so you've heard the amendment, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment's adopted. You are now on your, you're on your bill, but
Be re-referred back to the committee for
it is going to be
review.
re-referred back to the committee. Councilmember O'Connell, for what reason? Wait a minute, you're going to have to get up to
Well, it has to go back.
Councilmember O'Connell, the bill's going to be deferred because we can't talk about the bill. Okay. So, Councilmember Van Rees, your amendment's on, it gets deferred, I guess by rule, because there's no committee report,
That's
so it'll
fantastic.
just hold on.
And I invite Mr. O'Connell to come to that committee meeting if he has some
Okay.
questions. Thank you.
All right, so this bill will show up on the next calendar. Thank you, Councilmember Van Rees. Item number 59, Bill 2020-455 by Councilmember Syracuse. Ordinance amending Chapter 7.08 of the Metropolitan Code to create a new type of permit for curbside and delivery. Councilmember Syracuse, you are at podium number 5. You're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Gamble, Public Safety.
Yes, this is Syracuse 455.
Mhm.
Committee
455.
Voted, Committee voted for approval, 5 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Syracuse, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move approval. Brief comment.
All right, Councilmember Syracuse has moved approval, properly seconded. Back to you for a brief comment.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Well, we know that the curbside delivery has been a success because of the emergency order that authorized that, but this basically allows it to be continued in perpetuity. And this has been a very good revenue source for these businesses, and it's going to be a revenue source for the Metro Beer Board. So I ask for your approval.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Syracuse. I've got Councilmember Sledge. You're recognized at podium 9.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and I want to thank the sponsor for his actions on this. I do have a question on the bill that I think came up in the press as well regarding a potential requirement to purchase food, which I don't think is required under the ordinance, under the emergency order right now, and I'm trying to get some clarification.
Councilmember Syracuse, do you know?
Thank you so much. So this is something that the Beer Board can take up administratively, and they are looking into that. So this doesn't preclude or restrict, and it's something that they can do administratively, whether it's require a bag of chips or whatnot. It's something that they can definitely do via administrative.
Councilmember Sledge.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thanks to the sponsor. For any Beer Board members who are listening, I would urge you not to make that requirement, as it would hurt probably the people we're trying to help the most, which are our local breweries. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Sledge. Councilmember Syracuse.
Thank you. Renew my motion. Move approval.
Okay, so Councilmember Syracuse has renewed his motion on Bill 2020-455. Properly seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes on second reading. Thank you, Councilmember Syracuse. We're on item number 60, Bill 2020-456 by Councilmember Allen and Toombs. Ordinance amending Chapter 11.22 of the Metropolitan Code to require landlords to provide notice to tenants prior to termination of tenancy and non-renewal of a lease. There's Councilmember Allen right in front of me. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Cut off myself. Affordable Housing, Councilmember Suarez, you're recognized. We're on BL 2020-456. This is item number 60.
Affordable Housing voted 10 in favor, 0 against, a 1 meeting deferral.
All right. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for one meeting deferral with a brief explanation.
All right. Motion is to defer one meeting. Properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. As Councilmember O'Connell alluded to earlier, this bill is another piece of legislation that would deal with concerns with people being put out of housing on very short notice. As we were debating Councilmember Taylor's bill, the issue that continued to come up was not that when a property was sold, that was a problem, but when a property was sold and then the tenant had to leave on short notice, that it was very difficult to scramble and find housing. And so in terms of trying to deal with what to me was a key issue, I am looking simply at this piece of legislation to deal specifically with the termination of a lease and giving ample notification before a lease is terminated. So this does several things. It does echo language from the Uniform Residential Landlord and Tenant Act and states that if you have a week-to-week tenancy that you are required to give 10 days notice. That is simply restating what is in state law. And that if you have a month-to-month tenancy, then you're required to give 30 days notice. Where it adds more information that is not currently in state law is that in the absence of a written rental agreement that requires 60 days or more written notice of the intent not to renew a lease, then this would default to a 90-day notice. And finally, it spells out specifically that in the case of a sale of property that the lease continues as it is written. And that is good practice. It is case law, but it is not spelled out in the Uniform Residential Landlord Tenant Act. So that is not necessarily new law. It's just stating what should be obvious. I have had some input on this, and as Councilmember Taylor has done, would like to have a workshop in the Affordable Housing Committee meeting, and any members of planning or other committees would be welcome to join us there, I think. Chair. And so we are working on setting the date for that so that I can make some adjustments possibly to that 90-day notice default that perhaps might be adjusted to 60 days. I think the realtors that I've heard from would be more comfortable with that, but that still is longer than what would be applied. So Councilmember Murphy has also raised a good issue about education, and I will try to have some good answers for that one as well. So with that, this is hopefully a more specific way to deal with the issue of the termination of the lease, and we will continue to work on making sure that it does not conflict with state law and that it does not create confusion and complexity. And with that, then I would renew my motion for one meeting deferral.
All right, so Councilmember Allen has renewed her motion for a one meeting deferral, properly seconded. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized. This is, so we got a motion to defer in front of us.
Yeah, thank you for that, and this is on the motion to defer. I guess I would ask, as we consider these sequentially, could the sponsor speak to, is the intention here for this to be supplemental to Councilmember Taylor's bill or effectively in place of that bill?
I would say that this addresses the issue that I continued to hear, which was when property is sold and people have to leave before they thought they were going to, that's a real problem. And I heard from many people the sale of the property does not equate to the end of a lease. And the problem is the end of the lease. So I am, engineer that I am, trying to address the problem that I continue to come up. I believe that Councilmember Taylor has looked specifically to problems that arise from sale, and that is somewhat different. So I would say this is dealing with the original problem that I heard. Councilmember Taylor's is a slightly different focus.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Allen. All right, nobody else in the queue. It's a motion to defer one meeting. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Bill is deferred one meeting. Thank you, Councilmember Allen. We're on item number 61, BL 2020-457 by Rosenberg, O'Connell, and others. Ordinance to amend section 13.08.080 of the Metropolitan Code to restrict the metropolitan government from entering into agreements or contracts to acquire surveillance footage or data captured by technology owned by a person or business without the direct consent of that person or business. Councilmember Rosenberg, you are recognized. Hold on. Recognized. Wrong one. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is actually a very straightforward bill. It's short enough that you can read it. It's written in plain English. The main thrust of it is that it requires that if you have a surveillance system at your house, that you have to give consent before Metro government, whether the police or another agency can access it. There are municipalities across the country, not ours, but there are municipalities across the country where Amazon, Ring enter into an agreement with their local government, which allows the local government to access people's surveillance footage from their front yard without the homeowner or business owner's knowledge or consent. This simply says that you have to give affirmative consent to access that data. As I understand it, this typically happens when an agreement is reached with between Amazon and a police department, for example, where the police can highlight an area where a crime happened, an email gets sent to the homeowners in that area, where they can just give their consent with a click of a button, but they are having the option instead of that surveillance footage being co-opted. The very minor part of this bill that has become a vehicle for a much larger conversation about civil liberties, security, and technology is a clarifying amendment related to legislation we passed in 2017. That bill passed 25-2. Metro Nashville police were not opposed to it. They had no concerns with the amended bill. And among current council members, it was 14-0 with one abstention, by the way. So we're not banning LPRs. They've been banned for 3 years now. We had a situation where some organizations were misconstruing the intent of the legislation, and this is simply putting it in cleaner English.
So, Councilmember, I'm going to need committee reports.
Oh, shoot. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Nash.
The Public Safety Committee is recommending a 2-meeting deferral. There was 6 in favor, 4 against the deferral. I'm sorry?
Public Works.
Public Works, sorry.
All right.
With the intent of trying to get together with Public Safety, Public Works, personnel, traffic and parking, have a larger conversation about this whole issue. New technology is here now.
All right. All I needed was the committee report.
You got it.
Councilmember Gamble, Public Safety.
Public Safety voted for 2-meeting deferral, 5 in favor, 0 against.
All right. Councilmember Rosenberg, so it's an automatic deferral.
No, it's not, Mr. President.
It's not? I thought they voted for it. I know, 2 minutes. An automatic 1-meeting deferral, right? Okay, all right. So both committees have voted to defer 2 meetings, but because it wasn't for 1 meeting, then Councilman Rosenberg can actually move his bill.
And, Mr. President, that was part of the conversation, is ensuring that we could have a conversation on the floor if there were a deferral in committee, which is how we ended up, I think, if I remember correctly, at 2 meetings. Anyway, as you heard, there are folks who'd like to use this bill as a vehicle for a comprehensive conversation about LPRs and the such. I would suggest that there's actually a bill on first reading behind this that seeks to loosen our LPR laws and is probably a more appropriate vehicle for this. This is focused on ring technology and helps, I think, restore a little bit of trust that we need when it comes to Metro government and the way it surveils its citizens. So I'd like to move approval with a re-referral to both committees, please.
Okay, so the motion is to pass on second reading with referring back to the committees. Properly seconded. Discussion on the bill. Councilmember Pulley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. With all due respect to my friends who are sponsoring this bill, I'm struggling to understand it in the simplistic terms that how it's been presented to us. There were members of the Metro Nashville Police Department and the District Attorney's Office who expressed positions against this bill at committee. And I heard a number of other discussions along those lines. And in fairness to the sponsors, I think it's important for us to move this bill down the road, 2 meetings at both the Public Works and the Public Safety Committee meeting recommended, the purpose of which would be so that we could come together as a council and allow council members who are not a part of either of those committee meetings an independent meeting to hear all of the stakeholders and their positions on this. Secondly, it would give other stakeholders on both sides of this issue an opportunity to be heard at that meeting, as it was recommended that we try to get this Public Safety and the Public Works Committee to call a special meeting so that everybody would have that opportunity. So with that in mind, I would move a 2-meeting deferral for another reason that I don't believe this is amendable on third reading if we find it necessary to do that.
All right, so the motion is to defer 2 meetings, properly seconded. Discussion on the deferral. Councilmember Rosenberg, hold on. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. With all due respect, neither the DA's office nor Metro Police spoke in opposition to this bill. They spoke generally in favor of LPRs, which we're not banning in this bill. I'd also note that some of the suggestions about amendments to this bill are in the hopes that it would become a vehicle for changing our policy on license plate readers, which is not something that I'm willing to carry. This bill on Ring doorbells has not met any opposition I'm aware of. It's very straightforward and clear, and I would ask that you oppose the deferral motion. Thank you.
So we have a motion to defer 2 meetings. I've got other people in the queue. Anybody wish to speak on the deferral motion? All right, so hold on. I'm checking to see. So let me go to Councilmember Allen first. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized. Wait a minute. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Just to clarify that these would be re-referred to both Public Safety and to Public Works, and possibly referred to Personnel, since that is one of the committees that we would invite to the joint committee. I'm open to discussion on that third committee. And Traffic and Parking, which was the other committee that would be invited, but specifically to mention that we'd be re-referring.
It's Councilmember Pulley's motion to defer 2 meetings. So, Councilmember Pulley, I'm going to go back to you. The question was, does it go to, I think I can send it to probably any other committee I want to. The request was to send it to as many different committees as were mentioned, including Traffic and Parking and Personnel.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My intent would be to have a special call meeting of all those committees so that all council members have an opportunity to attend.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Pulley. Okay, so I've got other people in the queue. Councilmember Cash, on the deferral motion? Okay. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
I think we do need more time to look at this bill. The first part of the bill, I am okay with. I think it's a good idea to make sure that our government officials or police department isn't just going to companies like Amazon and taking and getting that data without going through, without getting permission from the camera owner and the person whose property it's on. The second part of the bill, though, I think it's being downplayed a little bit, and this is as much a question as a statement, but the the existing legislation passed in 2017 uses the words installed onto or within the right-of-way, that LPRs installed onto or within the right-of-way are illegal. And this new legislation seeks to change that to regardless of location. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm an English teacher, but to me, that difference, onto or within, and regardless of location is expanding the prohibition. It doesn't seem to me to be simply clarifying. It really does seem to be a change that I really think we need to make sure we understand before we pass this legislation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Cash. I've got different people now showing up in my screen. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I would also just on the motion to defer bring us back to committee where, yes, we did in Public Works in a manner that confused me have a representative from the DA's office, and I actually raised a point of order in the committee because it did not seem to be relevant to the bill. For anybody who is not yet aware, based on correspondence or discussion in committee and other communication from the council office or whatever, the main thrust of this bill is not related to license plate readers, which we took regulatory action on, to Councilmember Cash's point, back in 2017. This is the main intent of the bill here is to add some clarifying language after some discovery of a nationwide trend that was disturbing and should disturb Nashvillians about law enforcement being able to access ring footage without consent or warrant. And we've talked about several cases there, but I do think maybe if I can invite Mr. Cooper to answer Mr. Cash's question, that could also be helpful.
Mr. Cooper?
The existing language in the code arguably can be read two ways. The fact that there isn't a comma, I think, makes a difference. And one way is to read it is that you cannot operate a LPR within or on the right-of-way. I think that was the intent. What the bill did not specifically state is whether the equipment, if it's off or outside of the right-of-way, whether it still applied. And I think the intent was that you cannot operate a LPR within the right-of-way. And what this bill does is clarify that regardless of where the equipment is installed, if it is capturing images from within the right-of-way, then that would not be allowed.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cooper. Let me make a note. If you're in this facility, unless there's a medical problem, you have got to keep your mask on, okay? So unless you're eating or drinking, please make sure you get your mask back on, all right? I've got Councilmember Parker. You're recognized. Again, we're on a deferral motion.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. And I would like to speak against the deferral motion. The thrust of this bill is pretty simple, and to be frank, I don't understand I don't see necessarily a pathway to amending it in a way that that would, make it more amenable to the folks that are opposed to it. And we've gotten some emails from the public about this, and I just want to clarify that this does not prohibit or restrict any camera owner from sharing information with police. It just requires affirmative consent rather than, a large sweeping contract being made between the Ring camera provider and a law enforcement agency. So citizens they love their cameras, and they'll still be able to share information with law enforcement as they choose to if this bill were to pass. Thank you.
Councilmember Parker. Councilmember Benedict.
Thank you, Mr. President. I really appreciate the sponsor bringing this. This was not an issue that I was aware of, that Nashville didn't have protections for, and that this was going on around the country. I'd like to remind this body that when we get together again on November 3rd, we should have a new police chief in place. So when we look at the way that we police, we have an opportunity to make changes. The citizenry has asked for a new chief and that there's criteria to be used. More than 1,000 people responded to the request that, and I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, this is on the deferral based on that timeline. They provided feedback on how we want policing to change in Nashville. This is one opportunity that we can get out in front of and say, we don't want police to take a private resident's camera footage. Just last week, there's a house under construction across the street from me, and the contractor had left his construction trailer there, and it was stolen in broad daylight, and my Ring camera captured that information. And the contractor came over to me and asked to see the footage if I had any, and I did, and he and I spoke about it. And if he wanted to pursue that criminally, I would have been glad to share that information. But if he would have offered that information to the police without my consent, I would not have been okay with that. That's what we're talking about, and we're talking about doing that throughout the entire city. You know, what happens when I'm in, what happens when it's a crime that the police, are pursuing and they just say this is the crime? That's the type of transparency and trust that
Councilmember Benedict, remember we're on a deferral motion.
Thank you. So I would recommend that we not defer this because I think that, thank you, Vice Mayor. We need to get out in front of this and jump on it. And I think a 2-meeting deferral is not really going to give us much more clarity. I think that there's seems to be consensus on the first part of the bill. And so I think we should, and the second part of the bill has been explained plenty, so I think we should take action tonight. And again, I think it will help us with what's on the horizon here in the next couple of weeks before we get back together, certainly before we get back together 2 meetings from now. So I would urge my colleagues to not support a deferral. Thank you.
Councilmember Nash?
It should be noted that the police department currently has no contract with any of the companies aforementioned to do this. So there's no, and I suspect we'd have to approve such a contract, so there's no hurry to cut this short. And I think the fact that we're bringing a new chief to this department might be a good reason to also defer this for a couple of weeks to give him a chance to weigh in on these discussions. There are a lot of departments now that are using this kind of technology to solve crime in the public right of way. They've got good rules around it, and I think we need as a body a chance to sit down and talk about those things, see if it's something we can use that's of value, what kind of rules we'd want to put around it, and most of us are just not knowledgeable enough right now to make good decisions, and I'd like the opportunity, and the reason we asked for 2 weeks was to give the council staff time to get that meeting put together and get all the stakeholders to the table to have that discussion. So I ask you to support the motion to defer.
All right, Councilmember Evans, you're recognized.
I'm not calling the previous question. I actually wanted to make a comment. So I'm going to be supporting a deferral this evening, specifically because of information that was disseminated by the Hermitage Police Precinct. That, of course, impacts my area. Also, I appreciate what the sponsors are saying about the broader conversation about license plate cameras, and I do feel like that's important for me to be able to make the distinction between this legislation, the broader issue at hand, because we butt up, of course, to Mount Juliet. They have license plate cameras, and it's a conversation that residents ask me about all the time, is why we can't get them. So I would appreciate a deferral so everybody can get educated. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cash?
Thanks. I again encourage us to support this deferral. Even as I'm listening to council members speak, I think some people are still confused about the difference between just getting regular camera footage and that we're talking about license plate data that's collected. So I really think we need to study this some more. I think we need to make sure council members go and look and ask questions about what is law now, what was passed in 2017, and then how both parts of this bill will change the law.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Sledge?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On this deferral motion, I'd ask members to vote no, because it seems like the basis of the deferral motion and holding a special committee meeting, everything, is semantics. In 2017, we cared enough about people's privacy to say, generally, we didn't think LPRs were a good idea. And the fact that all of this seems to be hinging on where you put the daggum camera doesn't seem to be reason for deferral. And if we're worried about having contracts between Ring cameras and Amazon and law enforcement, folks, it's going to happen whether there's a contract or not unless we put some parameters in place. Please vote no on the deferral.
Councilmember Bradford?
Previous question.
Councilmember Bradford has called the previous question. Okay, so what we're doing is we're voting on a previous question to get to a deferral vote. All those in favor of the previous question say aye. Opposed, no. Okay, we're on a motion to defer 2 meetings. All those in favor of the deferral motion for 2 meetings say aye. Opposed, no. Madam Clerk, we're on the board.
Machine?
Yep, we're ready. So you're voting on a deferral motion for 2 meetings. Open up the machines. Ready?
I'm making sure that all the votes were recorded. Yes, I'll close the machine.
All right, Madam, close machines, take the vote. So the motion passes. Motion is deferred. The bill is deferred 2 meetings, 22 to 13. Okay. All right, we're now on item number 62, Bill 2020-458 by Councilmember Sledge, Cash, Withers, and others, an ordinance amending Title 16 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to adopt updated building codes. Councilmember Sledge, you are recognized at podium number 9.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
We've got, let's see, codes, which is coming to podium number 8.
We moved approval 6-0.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Councilmember Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I move approval with a brief explanation.
Right.
So this is a bill with a
Hold on. Let me get a second in there. Motion to approve, properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So this is a bill with a very small caption. This is a very big thing. It updates our building codes in the city, which are, depending on which portion of the current building code you're looking at, are more than a decade out of date. Why is this important? Well, in that decade, a lot of good things have happened. The International Building Code has updated to include better insulation, to include better flashing and waterproofing, better sealing of envelopes of buildings. And there's several motivations for this, and I appreciate all the co-sponsors who are on it, especially Codes Chair Cash. And I appreciate as well Mr. Jameson's work on this. This is an administration bill, and the work that's been done by a variety of members of the Mayor's Sustainability Committee. Here's the long and short of it. Right now, we are operating under such an outdated code that we are putting ourselves at risk for not being eligible for federal grants that come down the line that more or less require us to have this code. So there's a fiscal impact. Very close to all of our hearts, I believe, is that the updated code, which is the 2018 code, it may sound out of date, but that is the current ICC code. The 2018 code has a much stronger requirements regarding wind resistance, storm resistance, and for all of us who have been through the pain of watching constituents who have suffered from storm damage over the years, this is an extremely important update to our code. Why is it important from an energy efficiency standpoint? Because not only is it better, quite honestly, that we're more efficient as a city in our residential, commercial, multifamily construction, it's better for the people who live there too and the people who work there. This, as was mentioned in committee, the ICC, when they put forth energy efficiency requirements, they do not recommend energy efficiency requirements unless they can be cost positive, right? Unless they can be beneficial from a fiscal sense. These changes will save our residents and our commercial tenants money over the year because the buildings that they will be in will be more energy efficient moving forward. So I cannot stress enough how important this legislation is, that we've gotten to this point, and I want to thank everybody again who's been involved in it. There has been pretty broad consensus. You can see on your desks letters from a former council member of this body, Michael Craddock, who is in the home building business now and is very supportive of this legislation. And then you can see all the way up to the building arm of Bridgestone Firestone. I mean, there is broad agreement that it's time to make this update, and I really appreciate the administration bringing it forward. With that, I'd renew my motion for approval.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Sledge. I've got Councilmember O'Connell in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. President. It'd be hard for me to offer a more effective summary than Councilmember Sledge in terms of the importance, but one thing that was not on his list that I will also mention is we are in a facility with CDC conformant air circulation. One of the other advantages of this bill is that buildings going forward, as we start to emerge from the public health crisis of COVID, will actually have better air quality, right? This is not just a bill that improves sustainability of the built environment and the footprint we're creating as Nashville continues to grow, but it's actually making our buildings healthier as we continue to build them. So I would encourage colleagues to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bradford.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to be reported as an abstention on this.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Bradford. Councilmember Cash.
Thanks. I want to echo sponsor Councilman Sledge's comments, and he's been working with this on the administration for a while as last year's codes chairman, and I kind of came in the middle, but have been very impressed with how much dialogue there has been taking place. I did chair one of the last stakeholder meetings, and just the folks that were there and participating were very thoughtful and informed and wanted the best for this community. I think one of the things that, I don't want to say it surprised me, I just did, it's not I didn't expect it, that just the word quality kept coming up, and how many people think that upgrading these codes is kind of a badge of honor for those involved in home building and energy, and so there was a lot of pride in, I think, moving forward. I think there was a little concern about cost, and I think former Councilman Craddock mentions that we need to be aware of that because we do care about affordable housing, but also note that this will be good for the environment and will save in energy costs over time. So I want to thank those involved in this and encourage council members to support it.
Thank you, Councilmember Cash. Nobody else in the queue. It's a motion to approve on second reading, Bill 2020-458. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. And we have one abstention, Councilmember Bradford. Okay. All right, we're ready to move on to item number 63, Bill 2020-459. Ordinance to amend Section 16.28.190 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to require notice to the District Council member of applications for a demolition permit for historic structures. Vercher, Stiles, Hancock, and Benedict are the sponsors. Vercher is not here. Who's going to handle this one? Councilmember Hancock?
Committee reports, please.
All right, so we are on codes. Let's see.
Or encouraged approval 6-0.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Cash. And then back to you, Councilmember Hancock.
And this is an opportunity for all of us council members to be kept in the loop so that we're always informed if there's potential demolition of a historic structure in our district. The historic structures that are downtown are often focused on and in the news. And although I'm sure Councilman O'Connell is always aware of what's going on with his properties, sometimes that might help. However, in the surrounding areas in Nashville, we do still have some historic properties, and we just would like a little bit of notice. And this is an opportunity for the codes to put in an automatic process, so when they actually notify the Historic Commission, will be notified at the same time, and it's an opportunity for open communication. So I urge everyone to vote yes on this.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Hancock. Councilmember Murphy?
Thank you. I think it was an oversight that this was not sent to the Planning and Historical Committee. So I would like to make the motion that it is referred to Planning tonight.
All right, so there's a motion to refer it to Planning. The motion is to pass this on second reading. What if we, Councilmember Hancock, okay with moving it to Planning as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Incorporate it into the motion. So the motion would be to pass it on second and refer to Planning, the Planning Committee as well. Okay, that's the motion, properly seconded. Anybody else have questions about this one? Nobody else in the queue? All those in favor of passing this on second reading and sending it also to Planning Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you, Councilmember Hancock. Motion passes. We're on BL 2020-461, item 64. It's Councilmember Toombs, Rutherford, Dertcher, and others. An ordinance creating the positions of Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer and Workforce Diversity Manager. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
All right, you've got a Personnel Committee from Councilmember Rutherford.
Personnel did not meet.
Okay, back to Budget.
Budget and Finance Committee voted to recommend approval, 10-4-0 against.
All right, and proceed ahead.
Move for approval.
Okay, got a motion to approve on second reading, 2020-461. Properly seconded. Any discussion on that one? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Item 65, BL 2020-462, by Councilmember Syracuse, Van Rees, and Nash. Ordinance approving a second amendment to an agreement between the Metropolitan Government and Plaza 2750 LLC concerning the acquisition of real property for use as the site for a new public library in Donaldson. Councilmember Syracuse, there you are.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
All right. I've got Councilmember Van Rees. Where are you? Podium 1.
The Parks, Libraries, and Arts Committee met on this and voted in favor, 5-4-0 against.
All right, and thank you, Councilmember Nash. You're at podium 6.
The Public Works Committee recommends approval, 8-4-0 against.
All right, back to you, Councilmember Syracuse.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Move approval with explanation.
All right, got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Back to you.
Thanks so much. Okay, so especially my second-term colleagues will remember this was a private-public partnership that I'd worked on. I've now worked on this for about 7-8 years in total. This is the amending the agreement between Metro and Holiday Properties in regards to the use of the shared infrastructure dollars, if you will. There is roughly about 60 grand left over from the infrastructure, and knowing that capital spending is frozen, we don't know when we're going to be able to move forward with the library. The piece in front of where the library will go is going to be greened up anyway. So in order to give Donaldson community a civic site, green space that is usable for outdoor library programming, other community events or whatnot, hopefully if this passes, this is where we can put our Donaldson Christmas tree. It is not, as you can see, it didn't go before Budget and Finance because it's not requesting any money. It's just asking to tweak the agreement between Metro and Holiday to utilize not just the shared money for infrastructure, but for landscaping. So that's what we had to do in order to change the contract, and I ask for your approval. Thank you.
All right, so the motion is to approve on second reading. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. All right, item number 66, BL 2020-463 by Council Members Parker, Murphy, Nash, and O'Connell. Ordinance to amend the GIS system street and alley centerline layout for the Metropolitan Government by renaming a portion of Sharp Avenue between McPherrin Avenue and CSX Railroad to West Sharp Avenue. Council Member Parker, you recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
All right, I've got Councilmember Murphy right behind you.
Thank you. Without the ECD report, we deferred this one meeting.
Okay.
15 in favor, 0 against.
All right, Public Works, Councilmember Nash, you're recognized.
Public Works recommended approval, 8-4, 0 against.
All right, and Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Traffic, Parking, Transportation recommended approval, 4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Councilmember Parker.
Vice Mayor, is that deferred by rule, or do I need to make a motion to do so?
It is deferred by rule.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so thank you. All right, so we'll see that one next time. All right, I'm on item number 67, BL 2020-464. This is by Hurt, O'Connell, Nash, and Allen. Ordinance to amend the GIS system by changing the name of 10th Circle North from Roselle Parks Boulevard to Dr. Martin L. King Jr. Boulevard to Reverend Kelly M. Smith Circle. Councilmember Hurt, you are recognized.
Committee reports, please.
All right, I've got Councilmember Murphy back at her perch, podium 9.
Thank you. Again, we didn't see the ECD report, so it was deferred. One meeting, 15 in favor, 0 against.
All right, Councilmember Nash, Public Works.
Public Works proudly recommended approval, 9-4, 0 against.
All right, Traffic and Parking, Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Traffic and Parking recommended approval, 4 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. So this one's also deferred by rule. So Councilmember Hurt is deferred by rule.
So, Vice Mayor, is no way to suspend the rules?
I
Or
guess you can suspend the rules.
so I'd like to suspend the rules.
All right.
The other committees, okay, please guide and direct me. I'd like to suspend the rules.
All right, so Councilmember Hurt has moved to suspend the rules to go ahead and pass it on second reading.
Correct.
Okay. Is there objection to suspension of the rules? All you have to do is raise your hands. Councilmember Murphy, it's got to be a point of order. Wait a minute. Oh, sorry.
So the point of order is which rule is she suspending? Because we had passed an ordinance saying that you had to have the ECD report before second reading.
So,
It comes up this Thursday. So it's actually not a rule. There was a recent code change by the council. I didn't realize the ECD report wasn't in, but it does have to be in before the council can act on second reading under legislation that the council recently passed. So there's really no way to suspend that because it's not a rule, it's an ordinance. Oh, so they have approved it. Okay, well then that ordinance doesn't apply, so you can suspend the rules.
Is there a reason the report wasn't a part of our packet, or?
It came in Thursday. The agenda went out on Wednesday. The reports were, I do remember this now, the reports were uploaded on the website on Legistar once the clerk received them, but that came in after the agenda was published.
Okay, then I would apologize on behalf of planning to both Councilman Parker and Councillady Hurt. Had we known about those reports, we would not have deferred these two street renames.
all right, so here's where we are. At this point, Councilmember Hurt has moved to suspend the rules so she can go ahead and pass this bill. Is there an objection to suspension? Seeing none, you're on your bill. And
Yes.
you're just moving for second passage on second reading.
Thank you. I'd like to pass it on second reading.
Okay. So Councilmember Hurt has moved for passage on second reading, properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor of 2020-464 say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt.
Thank you.
All right. Do we need to go back? Okay. All right. We're on BL 2020-465 by Taylor, Murphy, Nash, and others. Ordinance to amend the GIS system metropolitan government by abandoning an unapproved, unnumbered alley right-of-way and easement from 14th Avenue North to alley number 540. Councilmember Taylor, you are recognized.
Committee reports.
All right. So I've got Planning and Zoning, Councilmember Murphy.
15 in favor, 0 against.
All right, Public Works, Councilmember Nash. He's right next to you.
Recommend approval, 9-4-0 against.
All right, Traffic and Parking, Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. President. We were in favor, 4-0 against.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
Motion is to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2020-466 by Councilmember Lee, Murphy, and Nash. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville to negotiate and accept permanent temporary easements for the Granny Wright Lane Stormwater Improvement Project for two properties located at 2335 and 2337 Granny Wright Lane. Councilmember Lee? Councilmember Lee?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're on BL 2020-466. You need committee reports.
I do, please.
All right, Councilmember Murphy, just step aside and she can give you the report.
15 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Nash, Public Works.
Recommended approval, 8-4-0 against.
All right, Councilmember Lee.
Yes, sir. I would like to move approval, please.
Councilmember Lee moves approval of 2020-466, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. BL 2020-467.
Thank you, sir.
Bradford, Murphy, and Nash. An ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to negotiate and accept permanent and temporary easements for the Kipling Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for 13 properties located along Good Bar Drive, Aladdin Drive, and Kip Drive. Councilmember Bradford at podium number 2. You're recognized.
Committee reports, please.
Planning and Zoning, Councilmember Murphy.
15 in favor, 0 against.
Public Works, Councilmember Nash.
Public Works recommends for approval, 8-4-0 against.
All right, Councilmember Bradford, you're recognized.
Move for approval.
All right, motion is to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. We're on BL 2020-468, Roberts, Murphy, and Nash. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to accept new public water and sanitary sewer main, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 110 Toon Ave, Airport Drive. Councilor Murphy, you got this one?
I have it. Committee reports, please.
All right, Planning and Zoning, that's yours.
15 in favor, 0 against.
Public Works, Councilmember Nash.
Public Works recommends approval, 8-4-0 against.
Back to you, Councilor
Move
Murphy.
for approval.
The motion is to approve, properly seconded. We're on BL 2020-468. Seeing nobody in the queue, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. That's no problem. We're on item number 72. This is the last bill on second reading, BL 2020-469, by Councilmember Murphy and Nash. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept public sanitary sewer main, sewer manholes, and easements for 3 properties located on Clovercroft Road in Williamson County, also known as Twin Valley Farms. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you. Committee reports.
You've got one, Planning and Zoning.
Yep, we deferred this one meeting. 15 in favor, 0 against.
Public Works.
Public Works recommends deferral 1 meeting, 9-4-0 against.
All right, Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you. The reason I moved for a deferral on this is because it needs a district council member to sign on, hopefully. So if we could, whoever's district this is, please claim it by the next meeting. And with that, I'd like to defer 1 meeting.
Motion is to defer 1 meeting, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the deferral motion, say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. We're on bills on 3rd reading. Most of these are on consent. Let me go through those real quick. Okay. So follow along. Let's see. We are... so item 74 is on consent. That's 405. Item 75, 417 is on consent. 419 is on consent. 435 on consent. 436 on consent. 437. 438. 439. 440. 441. 442. 443. 444. 445. 449, 451, 452, and 453. Anything that needs to be bumped? All right. So I'm going to read the captions of these bills. Here we go. Wait a minute. Councilmember Sledge. Hold on. You're recognized.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. I got bump 445, please.
445. Okay. Councilmember Evans.
Thank you. I just missed. Is 447 on consent?
447 is not on consent.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
Sorry, I also missed that, Vice Mayor. Was 446 on consent?
446 was not on consent.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So here we go. Item number 74, BL 2024-05 by Councilmember Sledge. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code pertaining to dumpsters and other trash receptacles. BL 2024-17 by Councilmember Taylor. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from MUIA to SP zoning for properties located at 1709, 1711, 1715, 1717, 1719 Hay Street, southeast corner of 18th Avenue North and Hay Street. Item 76, BL 2024-19 by Councilmember Welsh, an ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from RS5 to RM20A NS zoning for properties located at 327 and 331 Whitsett Road, approximately 150 feet east of Nolensville Road. BL 2024-35 by Councilmember Sledge and O'Connell. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by expanding the urban zoning overlay district for various properties located along Murfreesboro Pike from Donaldson Street to Interstate 24 and north of Woody Crest Avenue. Substitute Bill BL 2024-36 by Councilmember Rutherford. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing a specific plan for property located at Nolensville Pike unnumbered and a portion of property located at Nolensville Pike unnumbered at the southeast corner of Burkett Road and Nolensville Pike. Item number 79, BL 2024-37 by Councilmembers O'Connell and Murphy. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from IR to SP zoning. Property located at 1217, 1221, 1225, 1227, 1229, and 1231 2nd Avenue North at the southwest corner of 2nd Avenue North and Monroe Street. Substitute Bill BL 2024-38. Ordinance, this is by Councilmember Withers, an ordinance to amend Title 17 by applying an historic landmark overlay district on a portion of property located at 701 South 6th Street, approximately 390 feet southeast of Sylvan Street, Zone SP. Item 81, BL 2024-39 by Councilmember Parker. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by changing from SP to R6A zoning for properties located at 900, 902, 904, 906, 908, 910, 912, 914, 916 North 6th Street, northwest corner of Cleveland Street and North 6th Street. Item number 82, substitute BL 2024-40 by O'Connor Murphy. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by amending a specific plan located at 1324 2nd Avenue North at the southeast corner of 2nd Avenue North and Taylor Street. Item 83, BL 2024-41 by Councilmember Rosenberg. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing from RS40 to SP zoning for property located at 8045 Highway 100, approximately 600 feet west of Temple Road and within the Highway 100 Urban Design Overlay District. BL 2024-42 by Councilmember Parker. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by canceling a portion of a planned unit development overlay district for a portion of property located at 515 Foster Street, eastern terminus of Marina Street, along Ellington Parkway. Substitute BL 2024-43 by Councilmembers O'Connell and Murphy. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from MULA to SP zoning for property located at 806 16th Avenue North, approximately 200 feet southeast of Desha Street. BL 2024-44 by Councilmember Van Reese. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from RS20 to ON zoning, property located at 1201 South Graycroft Avenue, southeast corner of West 2 West Avenue and South Graycroft Avenue. BL 2024-49, that's item number 90, by Councilmember Suara, Henderson, and Toombs. Ordinance to amend Chapter 2.08 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to remove the master list of architects and engineers. Number 92, BL 2024-51, by Councilmembers Pulley, Murphy, and Nash. Ordinance amending BL 2018-1137, respect to intentions of easements and amending the geographic retention of easements and amending the geographic information system street and alley centerline layout for the metropolitan government by abandoning alley number 715 between Crestmore Road and the southern property line of the Calvary Methodist Church at 3701 Hillsborough Pike. BL 2020-452, Toombs, Murphy, Nash, and Parker. Ordinance approving a participation agreement between the Metropolitan Government through the Metropolitan Department of Water and Sewer Services and Highview Flats, LLC, authorizing the Director of Public Property or her designee to transfer to Highview Flats, LLC via quick-claim deed a small portion of certain parcel of property located at 700 East Trinity Lane. And the last bill, 94, item number 94, BL 2020-453 by Roberts, Murphy, and Nash. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to accept public sanitary sewer manholes and easements for property located at 5800 Centennial Boulevard. Anything need to be taken off of there? Councilmember Sledge, your hand is still up. You good? Okay. Okay, so I think I need committee reports. On third reading, Councilmember Cash, I've got one in codes. It's 405. Okay, hold on just a minute. Let me get you. Okay, you're recognized.
On codes, we recommended approval 6-0.
Okay, thank you. And planning and zoning, Councilmember Murphy.
15 in favor, 0 against.
On all these bills?
On every single one of them.
On 364, 405, 417, 419, 435, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, and 45. All right. Councilmember Murphy, can I get a motion to approve all the bills on third reading consent?
Move for approval.
Got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. We are now back on so we are back on the first bill on third reading. It's item number 73, BL 2020-364 by O'Connell and Murphy. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Codes by changing from IR to OG zoning for properties located at 309, 401, and 407 Driftwood Street, west of the terminus of Nestor Street, 9.39 acres. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move approval of brief comment.
All right.
I guess I need a committee report.
You've got a committee report. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you. We voted 15 in favor, 0 against.
All right. Back to you, Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move approval of brief comment.
Okay. So there's a motion to approve, properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you. As you can tell, this was both reviewed and approved unanimously by the Planning, Zoning, and Historical Committee. It was disapproved by the Planning Commission, however, so I'm, for the first time in 5 years, running a disapproved bill. Anybody who looks at the map, as we did in Planning, Zoning, and Historical Committee, can understand that this is an unusual portion of District 19, just south of downtown, adjacent to the river, in an emerging industrial area. And so, as has happened in the Neuhoff District, East Germantown in general, as has continued to happen on the east bank of the river, and other parts of the city that offer a lot of access and potential other uses, there was an applicant who actually more than a year ago kicked off a discussion triggered by the interest in rezoning this property with planning staff, with other area property owners, to examine what the future of this district might be like. Despite that year of effort, we have not yet successfully triggered a wholesale reconsideration of the policy and the community plan in that area, but I think what is happening here is that this bill is getting out a little bit ahead of some potential policy considerations there. And if colleagues have concerns, happy to talk through those, but otherwise I would encourage folks to support this and renew my motion to approve. Thank you.
All right, so Councilmember O'Connell has moved approval. It's been properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized. There you go.
Thank you. Many of y'all know that even like before I was planning chair, I really did not care for disapproved bills being put before the council and moved forward unless there was a lot of explanation and reasoning behind supporting a disapproved bill. As your planning chair, I feel even more in that direction and very strongly that we need to be upholding the Planning Commission's recommendations. Having examined this this rezoning, this SP, having looked at the community policy, having talked to the planning department staff about it, and hearing the discussion in committee yesterday, this is one of those where I agree with the councilman, the sponsor of the bill, that this is one that we simply don't have. We all know that we want different areas of our district to have their plans reviewed and updated, and we simply don't have the staffing capacity to update all of our corridors on a regular basis the way that we want. So slight plug for the budget to give more to the planning department, but this is one of those that I think is okay to move forward, even though it was disapproved in our previous term. So with that, I urge and encourage your approval of it.
Thank you, Councilmember Murphy. All right, so seeing nobody else in the queue, we're ready to vote. This is a disapproved bill, so we have to go on the board. It requires 27 votes to pass. Madam Clerk, tell me when you're ready. Councilmember O'Connell has moved to adopt. This bill is on third reading, requires 27 votes because it's a disapproved bill. All right. The clerk is ready. Open the machines.
All votes are in.
All votes are in. Madam Clerk, close machines. Take the vote. Got 33 votes, no noes, so the bill passes on third reading. All right. I believe the next bill we've got is item 87, which is on page 31 of your calendar. It's BL 2020-445 by Councilmember Sledge. It's an ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from CS to MULA-NS zoning for property located at 1621 Ensley Boulevard, northwest corner of Ensley Boulevard and 4th Avenue South. Councilmember Sledge, you are recognized. Hold on.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
So I've got Councilmember Murphy, looks like planning and zoning.
15 in favor, 0 against.
All right, back to you, Councilmember Sledge.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm asking for a 2-meeting deferral with a very brief comment.
Okay, so Councilmember Sledge has moved to defer 2 meetings, properly seconded. Back to you, Councilmember Sledge.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. No slight to the applicant, the plan, anything. We have a neighborhood association that's adjacent to this property that is growing and growing its capacity, and they have designated somebody who's asked to sort of be the contact on development issues. So I have notified the applicant of that. I'm going to connect them, and I think this 2-meeting deferral will give them time to discuss. So with that, renew my motion.
Okay, so the motion is to defer 2 meetings, properly seconded. Any discussion on the deferral motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the deferral motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. You adopt. We are on item number 88, BL 2020-446 by Councilmember Parker. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from IR to SP zoning for properties located at 515-516 Foster Street, the eastern terminus of Foster Street, partially located within a planned unit development overlay district, 9.51 acres. Councilmember Parker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Could I get committee reports, please?
Yeah, planning and zoning, Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you. 15 in favor on the amendment and 15 in favor, 0 against as amended.
All right, thank you. Back to you, Councilmember Parker.
All right, thank you. I'd like to move the amendment with a brief explanation.
All right, so Councilmember Parker has moved an amendment to BL 2020-446, properly seconded. Back to you.
Okay, thank you. So this amendment is the last item in your packet. This is a pretty high-density project that's adjacent to a long-standing established single-family neighborhood. And one of the really important elements for the community of making this plan work was having some traffic improvements and traffic calming implemented in the neighborhood as a part of this project. And so what this amendment does, that language was already in the SP as approved by planning, but what this amendment does is it really ties that process and implementation of that infrastructure to specific steps in the the building permitting process. So I think that it's gonna make things work a lot smoother as we implement these improvements to the neighborhood. So with that, I would move the amendment.
All right, Councilmember Parker has moved amendment, properly seconded. Any discussions on the amendment? See nobody in the queue. We're on the amendment. All those in favor of amendment number 1 to BL 2024-46, say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment's adopted. You're on your bill as amended.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move the bill as amended.
All right, so Councilmember Parker has moved BL 2024-46 as amended on third reading, properly seconded. Ready to vote?
Yes.
Ready to vote? Any questions? Anybody's got any questions about this one? Seeing nobody in the queue, we're ready to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. BL 2024-46 as amended is adopted. Thank you, Councilmember Parker. We're on item number 89, BL 2024-47 by Councilmember Hager. Ordinance to Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by changing from AR2A to CS zoning for a portion of property located at 4000 Andrew Jackson Parkway at the northern corner of Andrew Jackson Parkway and Old Hickory Boulevard. Councilmember Hager, you're recognized. Where are you? There you are.
There I am.
Yep.
Committee
Gotcha.
reports.
I've got Councilmember Murphy.
Sorry about that. 13 in favor, 1 against, and 2 abstentions.
All right, back to you, Councilmember Hager.
Move for approval with a comment, please.
All right, Councilmember Hager has moved for approval of 2024-47 on third reading, properly seconded. Back to you.
Yeah, this is the third reading of this matter. As you know, in the second reading, this is 13 acres of land. I went over this before. 3 acres is being rezoned, and the biggest objection to it that came to me initially was keeping the driving range there. So 3 acres of it is not in a floodplain, 10 acres of it is, and I worked to try to work out something where the driving range would stay there. I received an email today. They're in negotiations, and based on what I've got in the email today, the construction, if this passes, racetrack won't occur till October of next year. And it looks like they're negotiating between a 3 and 5 year option on a lease for the driving range to continue to operate there. So they are negotiating in good faith where the driving range can stay there, and that's the biggest objection I heard from the community. Now, as I told y'all the last time, this is a commercial corridor, and most of the emails and objections come from at least a half a mile or further away. When I had the community meeting with the Zoom, it goes out 1,000 feet. There was only a couple of people that showed up for that meeting, and there wasn't much controversy about it because there's not a lot of residential property in that area. As I said the last time, I'll work diligently to try to make it a win-win situation for the owners of the property, the buyers of the property, and also the people that lease the property that are working on a long-term contract to continue to operate. What makes it interesting is that Racetrack, the corporate company, is wanting to work with this driving range to keep it there because they know the community wants to keep it, and I want them to keep it as well, and they're working toward that end. I would ask y'all please to consider and pass this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hager. I got a motion to approve on third reading, properly seconded. Councilmember Evans, you're recognized.
Thank you very much for recognizing me. I really appreciate that update from Councilman Hager about where things stand with Racetrack. I still have residents that would prefer that I vote against this legislation, so I am going to be recorded as a no this evening, and I appreciate your help.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Evans. Anybody else in the queue wanting to talk? Okay, seeing nobody else because it's a negative vote, we're on the board. Madam Clerk, can you get the machine ready? Okay. We are voting on item number 89, BL 2020-447, passage on third reading. Madam Clerk, open the machines. voted?
Yes, sir.
All right. Closed machines, take the vote. With 25 yeses, 4 noes, 1 abstention. Bill passes on third reading. Last bill on the calendar tonight is BL 2020-450 by Councilmember Suara, O'Connell, and others. It's an ordinance to amend the GIS system street and alley centerline layer for the Metropolitan Government by changing the name of 5th Avenue North and Opry Place to Representative John Lewis Way North, changing the name of 5th Avenue South to Representative John Lewis Way South. Councilmember Suara, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for a one-meeting deferral.
Yeah, so apparently it has to be deferred because of a planning, so you need to defer 1 meeting.
Yes, please.
Is that right? Is that long enough? Okay, motion is to defer 1 meeting, properly seconded. Any discussion on the deferral motion? All those in favor of the motion to defer 1 meeting, say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Remember that we will be meeting here next time on November the 5th. November 3rd is Election Day. Remember to vote. Need a motion to adjourn? Got an adjourn motion, properly second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. We stand adjourned.
And so the Metro Council has concluded a little bit less than a 4-hour meeting, which may seem long to some, but for this council, that's actually pretty short. In fact, both meetings that have been held here at the Music City Center have actually ended well before midnight. That was not something that happened at all during the summer months that the council was meeting back in the council chambers. Council again tonight for about the 3rd or 4th straight meeting debated Metro Charter amendments. They didn't put any on tonight. In fact, there's a referendum being proposed that would repeal 34% property tax increase the council approved. This was put on by a citizens group. It's before the courts, and as part of that, Councilman Steve Glover was offering an alternative here, some of his own amendments in terms of limiting future property tax hikes no more than 12% in a 2-year period, a couple of other changes. The council has indefinitely deferred Councilman Glover's proposal 2 different times. He did it a 3rd time tonight with some finality. It basically deferred the measure until the 2nd reading in August of 2023. That is the last meeting of this council, so definitely the council did not want to deal with that and did not. The council did go on record approving a resolution that would put them in opposition to the proposed referendum. If it's approved by the courts, the council's already put its own amendment on that would basically negate the proposed charter change. And giving the voters a choice, if indeed the special election is held in December, we'll see now what the courts want to do, and the hearing on that is set for next week. Several other pieces of legislation right before the council concerning the coronavirus pandemic. First 2 resolutions that have been up before the council before to request CARES Act money were both withdrawn. I think some concerns about conflicts of interest by one council member, and also a concern perhaps that the Arts Commission was going to, or the city's CARES Act oversight group is going to be coming up with its own suggestions, recommendations to the council about how to spend some of the CARES Act money to help with arts group, and that may be coming to the council in the next couple of weeks. One pandemic resolution before the council tonight that was approved was accepting $900,000 from the Metropolitan Development Housing Agency. Funds will be used by the Metro Action Commission to address rent and mortgage assistance for up to 3 months for eligible households impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Third resolution that also was up for tonight would allow $250,000 from Tennessee Department of Agriculture for the Nashville Farmers Market to respond to COVID-19 business disruption and to help with supply chain improvement initiatives that are underway due to the pandemic. Council rejected a resolution requesting the Metro School Board to reopen all schools immediately following the school's fall break. Councilman Glover offered that resolution, saying that he'd had parents complaining to him about the way the council has been, the schools are moving forward to reopen schools a few grades at a time, with high schools not going back in person until January, but the council did not want to get into that. The opening and closing of schools, the operation of schools is completely up to the school board, and the council didn't want to get into it and rejected the resolution fairly handily. Also approved a bill on 2nd reading tonight that would prohibit bullying in all Metro government services, activities, programs, and facilities. That bill now goes on for 3rd reading approval. The council also had a couple of bills tonight about regulating landlord notices to tenants, a bill that would require the tenants be notified about the sale of their leased property was okayed on second reading. This bill's been in the council since back in March. It got 18 votes tonight, so it passed, but it needs 21 votes on third and final reading, so the sponsors will have to find 3 more votes before it comes up again in the first meeting in November. Another bill that would require notice of tenants prior to a termination of tenancy and a renewal of a lease was deferred tonight for further study and perhaps for some joint committee meetings. Another property-related bill on second reading that was also approved tonight. It requires notice from Metro Codes officials of 2 business days to district councilmen regarding applications for permits to demolish historic structures in their district. 2 of the bills that would rename downtown streets in honor of 2 of the city's civil rights icons. One for Kelly Miller Smith on second reading was approved tonight. One for the late Congressman from Atlanta, John Lewis, was deferred because of a technical problem, but they'll both be on third reading at the next meeting in November. Finally, on second reading, the council, despite the city's hiring freeze, approved 2 new positions: Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer and a Workforce Diversity Manager for Metro. The jobs are funded in the current city operating budget, but not covered in the hiring freeze. One other change the council approved tonight on second reading was to pass a bill that would allow curbside beer sales to continue. They're allowed under the public health orders. They're not allowed under the current law. This would make that change if it passes on third reading, and the council will look at that and approve it without much debate tonight. The council is now in recess until November the 5th. That's a Thursday night. Normally the council would meet on the first Tuesday in November, but that's election day. The council decided that was enough of a distraction for them and everybody else. Hopes everybody votes, but will not hold its meeting until Thursday, November 5th. We'll be here at that time to provide live coverage right here from the Music City Center in the Davidson Room. We'll be meeting for the month of November here, both this meeting in November and then later in the month. Until then, we say good night from the council chambers. Tonight's meeting...
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.